It was a beautiful day, just like any other. This guy was taking a stroll all by himself when suddenly, his left eye started acting up, feeling super itchy and irritated. While he was desperately trying to blink away the discomfort, a monster suddenly materialized right before his eyes. Without wasting a single second, Han Sen quickly drew his dagger and plunged it straight into the monster's butt. An ear-splitting shriek rang out, instantly catching the attention of tons of bystanders. But then, the monster began to morph, transforming into a human woman. Han Sen's blade was still firmly stabbed right into her butt. The sight was absolutely cringeworthy. Wait, is that Qin Xuan? Getting stabbed in the butt in broad daylight like that? This kid has some serious guts. How dare he poke Qin Xuan's butt? Who on earth is this guy anyway? Did that idiot really not know that was just a beast soul transformation? Looks like we have some major drama to watch. Hearing the crowd whisper and gossip around him, Han Sen started shivering without even being cold. The woman standing before him now was Qin Xuan, the most powerful and influential person in the entire steel armor sanctuary. This had to be the first time Qin Xuan had ever been poked in the butt in public, so she was completely overwhelmed with a mix of fury and embarrassment. She could only stammer, you, for what felt like forever, unable to form a coherent sentence. How dare you? Did you seriously just stab my butt? Being made a laughingstock right in the middle of the street, Qin Xuan's absolute rage finally exploded. But before she could even make a move, Han Sen was already surrounded by a group of massive, muscular men. I mean, it makes sense. She was basically their goddess. Since Han Sen dared to poke their goddess in the butt, there was no way he was getting out of this alive. He was forced to his knees, facing the absolute tidal wave of Qin Xuan's wrath. She pointed a finger right at his face, fiercely declaring that from this moment on, anyone who associated with Han Sen or helped him would be her sworn enemy. A single, short sentence was enough to completely blacklist him, utterly destroying Han Sen's future prospects. He instantly panicked. Han Sen himself couldn't comprehend how he had ended up in such a terrible mess when he had just barely arrived at God's sanctuary. Han Sen desperately wished this was all just a bad dream, but unfortunately, Qin Xuan's words carried way too much weight. Because of that, he was forced to go hunting, all by himself. With his limited abilities, Han Sen could only hunt low-level creatures, taking out all his frustration on a bunch of black beetles. Eating these creatures could randomly grant anywhere from 0 to 10 gene points, but Han Sen had already eaten more than 30 of them in a row, and his gene points simply refused to go up anymore. Human genetic codes are currently measured by 4 distinct stats. These are ordinary genes, primitive genes, mutant genes, and sacred blood genes. Currently, Han Sen's ordinary gene points stood at 79 out of 100, while the rest of his genetic stats were stuck at a big fat 0. If things kept going like this, he had no idea how long it would take to complete his first evolution and finally get ranked. For the next entire month, Han Sen kept hunting and eating low-level creatures, but he still couldn't pull off a single physical evolution. Before all this, he actually thought about hunting slightly stronger creatures, but when he crossed paths with a copper-toothed beast, literally the weakest primitive creature out there, Han Sen couldn't even beat it. He almost lost his tiny little life right then and there, and had to rest in bed for nearly half a month before he could even think about returning. Normally, finding a few teammates would make hunting stronger beasts pretty easy. But since he was completely blacklisted by Qin Xuan, finding a party was absolutely out of the question. Just when he was about to lose all hope, Han Sen suddenly spotted a golden glow in the distance. It was still a black beetle, but it looked completely different from the ones Han Sen had been butchering. His gut told him this creature was something special, so he gripped his dagger and charged. But that golden-winged black beetle also seemed to be crawling rapidly straight toward him. Han Sen couldn't wait. He accelerated, dashed forward, and plunged his blade straight into its belly. The system immediately notified him that he had slain a sacred blood black beetle, acquiring a sacred blood beast soul. Han Sen stared at the notification in absolute shock. He muttered to himself, based on their traits and rarity, the creatures in this world are divided into 4 tiers: ordinary, primitive, mutant, and sacred blood. Sacred blood creatures are the absolute rarest of the rare, yet Han Sen actually had the insane luck of running into one. From what he knew, barely anyone in the entire steel armor sanctuary owned a sacred blood beast soul. It looked like God hadn't abandoned him after all. Han Sen devoured the creature's meat, gaining 7 sacred blood gene points, and the beast soul he obtained from that black beetle turned out to be an armor type. This was exactly what Han Sen had been wishing for. Without a second thought, he immediately fused with the beast's soul. His body was instantly covered in a suit of shimmering golden armor. Han Sen felt incredibly light and bursting with pure energy in a matter of seconds. It really was worthy of being a sacred blood beast soul. Now that he had this armor, comparing it to those made from primitive beast souls was like night and day. This was on a completely different level. Back then, Han Sen was green with envy just watching other evolved humans walk around in armor made from primitive beast souls. He never imagined the day would come when he would be wearing a suit of armor made from a sacred blood beast soul. Eager to test it out, Han Sen picked out a massive boulder to gauge his new power. With a single punch, the giant rock shattered into tiny pieces. This power was so incredibly immense that Han Sen couldn't help but gasp in awe. After scraping by like a total loser for over a month, his time to rise up had finally arrived. After securing this massive haul, Han Sen headed straight back to the steel armor shelter. Even though he had eaten the raw meat of the sacred blood Black Beetle earlier and gained 7 sacred blood geno points, there was still some of its meat left over. So, Han Sen brought it back to make soup. Drinking the whole pot would surely squeeze out a few more points for him. But besides the meat and the beast soul, he had pulled something else out of that Black Beetle's body. It looked like a gleaming, radiant crystal, but definitely didn't seem like any part of an insect's body. While Han Sen was busy examining the crystal, the green scale beast locked in the cage next to him suddenly whipped out its long tongue and snatched it away. Before Han Sen could even react, the beast had already swallowed the crystal whole. Right after that, the green scale beast froze, completely motionless for so long that Han Sen actually thought it had kicked the bucket. But then, the strange beast suddenly began to mutate, its body swelling rapidly until it shattered the cage and lunged forward, trying to bite Han Sen's head off. He quickly drew the dagger at his waist and drove it deep into the beast for a fatal blow. Fortunately, the green scale beast's combat power wasn't all that high. Han Sen got a massive scare, but he managed to escape completely unscathed. Once the strange beast finally died, the system prompt rang out as usual. The crazy part was, this green scale beast had originally been just an ordinary class creature. Yet after swallowing that crystal, it evolved into a primitive class creature. It was highly likely that the black crystal had triggered its evolution, just like it did with that abnormally powerful, sacred blood Black Beetle. With that realization, Han Sen couldn't wait and immediately sliced open the green scale beast's carcass. The crystal was still completely intact inside its stomach. Right then, a wild idea flashed through Han Sen's mind. He wondered if this crystal could help other creatures evolve all the way to the sacred blood class. If that was actually true, he could exploit it to the absolute limit. In no time at all, he would completely turn his life around. But while Han Sen was celebrating his newly found treasure, back home, his mother, Luo Sulan, was dealing with a massive headache brought on by their so-called relatives. Since Han Sen's father had passed away, his uncles and aunts had swarmed their house like vultures, bullying the widowed Luo Sulan to demand they hand over the property. Their excuse was that this old house originally belonged to Han Sen's paternal grandparents, and they refused to let Luo Sulan keep it all to herself. "You've been living here for over 20 years, getting a free ride. It's about time you split up the family estate," Han Sen's second uncle, Han Lei, barked in an incredibly arrogant tone. "Second brother is absolutely right," Han Sen's uncle-in-law chimed in. "This old house is worth $3 million. If you give each of our families $1 million, then you can keep the place. And if you can't, you sell it immediately." This time, it was Han Sen's second aunt speaking up. Luo Sulan was backed into a corner. Her husband had just died, and money was incredibly tight. She had absolutely no idea where she could possibly scrape together $2 million to pay them off. But if they sold the house, they would have nowhere left to live. She wanted to beg them for a little more time to figure things out. But Han Lei immediately began shouting over her. "Oh, so only your family has it rough. Both Han Sen and Han Yan are only getting free public education. My Han Hao goes to a private academy. Just paying his tuition every year is already turning my hair completely gray." Without giving her a choice, he unilaterally gave Luo Sulan an ultimatum of 1 month. In 1 month, she either had to pay each of their families $1 million or sell the house and split the money equally. Otherwise, they would take her straight to court. After Han Lei and the rest of the gang finally left, Luo Sulan collapsed onto the floor, her face pale with despair. Right at that moment, Han Sen arrived home for a visit. Even though these people shared his blood, Han Sen could never bring himself to call them family. Years ago, when they were drowning in over $10 million of debt, it was his father who stepped up to save them. Now, barely any time had passed since his death, and they had the shameless audacity to drag themselves over here and demand money. The Starry Group wanted to swallow our family company. If Dad hadn't stood up for everyone, argued with them, and cut ties with those corporate monsters, how could he have died under such mysterious circumstances? Han Sen growled, his teeth clenched in pure rage. Luo Sulin wept helplessly, blaming herself for being useless and unable to even protect their old home. Seeing his mother like this tore Han Sen's heart into a million tiny pieces. Mom, please don't worry. I've already talked to Uncle Zhang, and we have a way out of this. Just focus on taking care of little Yan. Leave this entire mess to me. There is no way in hell they are taking our house. In Luo Sulan's eyes, Han Sen was still just a kid who had barely graduated from high school. But after spending just 1 month at the steel armor shelter, he seemed like a completely different person, so much more mature and dependable. Hearing Han Sen speak with such confidence, she wiped away her tears and chose to put all her trust in her son. As for Han Sen, he had absolutely no intention of letting those ungrateful freeloaders who dared to bully his mother and little sister get off easy. Shortly after, Han Sen said goodbye to his mother and sister and headed to the teleportation station, preparing to return to the steel armor shelter. At the station, news about rising stars in the sanctuary was buzzing everywhere. Reports announced that Yate Group President Zhao Yilong had completed his 3rd evolution, earning his way into the 4th God Sanctuary and achieving the legendary status of a demigod. Another headline spoke of the prodigy Leng, who had entered the 2nd God Sanctuary with a perfect score of 100 mutant geno points. In the past, concepts like evolver, transcendent, and demigod were completely out of Han Sen's reach. But now that he had that mysterious black crystal, he could definitely reach that level too. Right now, he already had sacred blood geno points in his body, but reaching 100 sacred blood geno points to evolve in a short time was still way too difficult. For now, Han Sen just wanted to max out on 100 primitive and mutant geno points. With that in mind, he headed straight for Zephyr Valley. Han Sen planned to speed things up and make as much money as possible, aiming for 2 million coins to shut those ungrateful relatives of his up once and for all. Even after arriving at Zephyr Valley, Han Sen still couldn't help but feel a deep sense of regret. If he hadn't stewed the shell of that sacred blood Black Beetle into soup, he could have easily sold it for 1 to 2 million coins. Who could have guessed that right after he ate it, things would turn out like this? During his hunt that day, the first target Han Sen encountered was a primitive swift mantis. These creatures were known for their insane speed, attacking with saw-like, sickle-shaped forelegs. Its fatal weakness was its slender waist. Han Sen had no reason to pass up on this primitive creature, so he quickly launched his attack. At first, he struggled a bit since the swift mantis's speed and attack power were truly terrifying. However, with his sacred blood beast soul armor, the swift mantis couldn't scratch him even a single bit. Han Sen still held the upper hand and finally took his opponent down. Once that swift mantis was dead, an entire swarm of them suddenly appeared out of nowhere and attacked Han Sen all at once. It seemed they had mobilized their entire force, but Han Sen didn't feel a shred of fear. He fought harder and harder, eventually wiping out the entire swarm. Meanwhile, at the entrance of Zephyr Valley, another person showed up. It was one of Qin Xuan's subordinates, a wealthy heir named Su Xiaochao. Despite being filthy rich, Su Xiaochao was nothing more than a total simp. Just to get a compliment from Qin Xuan, he was more than willing to push himself and hunt down creatures. However, once he entered the valley, Su Xiaochao realized something was off because there wasn't a single swift mantis in sight. At first, he thought some party had already swept through the area, but at a glance, it didn't look like a group of people had passed by. Then, Su Xiaochao noticed a few bloodstains, and as he went deeper, he saw splatters of blood everywhere. From the bloodstains, it was clear that a fierce battle had just taken place. Driven by curiosity, Su Xiaochao ventured even deeper. There, the carcasses of swift mantises were piled high, and Han Sen was standing right on top of the pile, looking incredibly badass. Su Xiaochao couldn't hide his shock, asking, "Boss, did you seriously kill all of these swift mantises by yourself?" Instead of answering, Han Sen asked Su Xiaochao back, "Do you want them? It is 1,000 Zuo Xuan coins each. No bargaining. Just so you know, Zuo Xuan coins are the common currency in this world." But in truth, Han Sen was actually having a massive headache right now. It was all because he went overboard and wiped out the entire swarm of swift mantises. He couldn't possibly eat all of them, so he had to sell them off. To his surprise, he ran straight into a wealthy guy. Hearing the price, Su Xiaochao's face lit up with excitement as he pulled out a thick stack of bills and handed them to Han Sen. I will buy all the swift mantises here, and any leftover cash can be a deposit. If you get your hands on any good creatures in the future, I will come buy them from you at a high price. Han Sen, who was exhausted as hell, suddenly hit the jackpot and met a loaded tycoon. He proactively asked for Su Xiaochao's name and room number so he could find him directly when he had high-quality goods in the future. My name is Su Xiaochao, and my room number in Steel Armor Shelter is 1046. What about you? What is your room number? Han Sen, of course, was not stupid enough to reveal his personal information. After all, he was currently the most hated guy in Steel Armor Shelter. Han Sen took the cash and left, not forgetting to promise he would find Su Xiaochao if he had anything good. Dollar? I only recognize dollars, Han Sen said. Unbelievably, Su Xiaochao was such a blockhead. When Han Sen said he only recognized dollars, Su Xiaochao literally translated it as Han Sen's name being dollar, and even felt it was rude to call an expert by his direct name, so he decided to call him Brother Dollar. Brother Dollar, Brother Dollar, I will be waiting for you. You must come see me, okay? After parting ways with Su Xiaochao, Han Sen headed to the copper-toothed beast territory to continue hunting. Earlier, he had accidentally wiped out the entire swarm of swift mantises. He had to learn from that mistake and spare one copper-toothed beast to nurture with his black crystal. Copper-toothed beasts were also primitive creatures. Han Sen slaughtered his way through them one by one and finally obtained a beast soul. Copper-toothed beast souls were highly sought after. Their beast souls took the form of weapons, which was exactly what Han Sen was lacking. Now that he had both armor and a weapon, his strength had increased significantly. After a hard day of hunting, Han Sen returned to the Steel Armor Shelter. Just as he reached the gate, he ran into a squad of riders on mounts heading out. Looking closely, it was Son of Heaven's crew. He was the local tyrant here, and also one of Qin Xuan's persistent pursuers. The moment Son of Heaven spotted Han Sen, his face darkened instantly, and without saying a single word, he whipped out his lash. A leather whip lashed down hard on him. Caught completely off guard, Han Sen couldn't even dodge and took a brutally painful hit. You bastard, Son of Heaven snarled, his voice booming. Who the hell dared to sell you a primitive beast? Han Sen was furious at being whipped out of nowhere. But to the onlookers, it was glaringly obvious that Son of Heaven was just out for revenge. All because Han Sen had previously poked his goddess in the butt. In this Steel Armor Shelter, nobody was crazy enough to cross him. So, not a single soul dared to speak up for Han Sen. If I find out who sold that thing to you, both of you are going to pay dearly. Son of Heaven barked arrogantly. He clearly refused to believe that Han Sen had hunted the copper-toothed beast all by himself. With that, Son of Heaven kicked his beast's sides and sped off. His lackey following close behind, Luo Tianyang, couldn't help but glare daggers at Han Sen as well. Their squad was in a rush to get somewhere else today, otherwise Son of Heaven definitely wouldn't have let him off with just a single lash. Han Sen rubbed the raw, painful welt on his shoulder, silently cursing those absolute bastards. It looked like he needed to use that black crystal to boost his strength as fast as possible, so these jerks would finally stop looking down on him. They say a gentleman's revenge can wait 10 years, and one day, he would grind these people right under his boots. 3 days later, inside Han Sen's room in the Steel Armor Shelter, the copper-toothed beast he had been feeding the crystal began to transform. Once its entire body turned bronze like a statue, it would completely evolve into a mutant copper-toothed beast. But even though its fur was starting to take on a bronze luster, it was still a far cry from a real mutant, copper-toothed beast. It seemed that evolving a primitive creature into a mutant one was way more complicated than going from ordinary to primitive. Han Sen had no choice but to wait patiently. But just sitting around waiting was a massive waste of time. In the meantime, he planned to go out and hunt some primitive creatures to sell for cash. Plus, he could eat their meat to max out his own primitive geno points. Suddenly, a loud commotion erupted outside. Han Sen pressed his ear against a crack in the door to listen in. Hurry up, let's go see what's happening over at Zephyr Valley. So many people have died. You don't know? The 3 powerhouses of the Steel Armor Shelter have formed an alliance to hunt a sacred blood creature. Come on, move it. We might even be able to scavenge some leftovers. Hearing the words sacred blood creature, Han Sen immediately knew exactly where he had to go next. He kicked into high gear, sprinting toward the Zephyr Valley they were talking about. Down in the valley, Han Sen could see Son of Heaven and Qin Xuan teaming up to fight a monster, and their target was a sacred blood creature of absolute, peerless power. "Get out of the way!" someone in the squad suddenly shrieked. Han Sen watched as Son of Heaven pulled off a spectacular mid-air dodge, barely escaping the sacred blood beast's devastating strike. But in doing so, Son of Heaven's mount was torn to shreds by the ferocious beast. Clearly, even though they were both sacred blood creatures, this monster was on a whole different level compared to the Black Beetle Han Sen had hunted. Just look at it. Even when cornered by Son of Heaven's entire squad, it remained completely unscathed. However, the beast also seemed wary of letting the battle drag on, and after tearing a bloody path through the ranks, it turned and bolted. Son of Heaven had poured so much effort into this, and even lost his mount. There was no way he would let the culprit get away. He pulled out his ultimate weapon, a glowing green bow. With one look, Qin Xuan knew it was a sacred blood beast soul. The catch was, this particular beast soul of Son of Heaven's was a one-time use item. It looked like he was going all in on this fight. "You monster, feel my wrath." Son of Heaven drew his bow and unleashed an arrow directly at the sacred blood beast. The shot was incredibly precise, bringing the beast crashing down instantly, leaving it on the brink of death. You had to hand it to him. Son of Heaven looked pretty badass just now. He was even trying to use the moment to show off in front of Qin Xuan. But out of nowhere, Han Sen dropped down from above, delivering a final, decisive strike to finish off the sacred blood beast known as the Bloody Slayer, and because of that, he claimed its beast soul. It was a weapon in the form of a double-edged axe, and it looked insanely powerful at first glance. The rest of Son of Heaven's squad was completely bewildered, except for Su Xiao Chao, who recognized Han Sen by his Black Beetle armor. Son of Heaven obviously wasn't going to let this slide, so he lunged forward. His entire squad immediately charged after him, hunting Han Sen down. He ran with everything he had, but that beast soul weapon was so heavy, it was seriously dragging him down. This was exactly how he ended up in the frantic chase from the beginning of our story. Even though Han Sen had acquired a few sacred Geno points by now, dragging that massive, heavy axe made it hard to even walk, let alone run. At this rate, Han Sen was terrified he'd be caught in no time, especially with Son of Heaven hot on his heels. The weight of the axe was so suffocating, it made it hard to breathe. He had just gotten his hands on that crystal. With a bright future ahead of him, was it really going to end in such a miserable, pathetic way for Han Sen? Han Sen was devastated, but his body had reached its absolute limit. Honestly, after risking his life to steal a monster kill right out from under such a massive army, this brutal outcome wasn't really a surprise. "Mom, Xiaoyan, I'm so sorry. I've given it everything I have." Han Sen closed his eyes, ready to let go. But right at that moment, a deeply familiar voice echoed in his mind. "So, you're just going to give up? Do you really want to stop here? Are you absolutely sure you want to throw in the towel, Xiao Sen?" This voice belonged to his late father. Han Sen was instantly taken back to his childhood when his dad had him play a virtual reality game. Back then, seeing the player right ahead of him get brutally swallowed whole by a monster made Han Sen too terrified to take another step. But his father taught him that danger and opportunity always go hand in hand, and he could never let fear stop him from moving forward. Suddenly, that exact conversation between father and son flashed vividly in his mind. His dad had told him that evolution, at its core, is a dangerous journey for all living things. Only by constantly pushing forward and shedding blood can one truly grow stronger. In the game back then, they were surrounded by monsters on all sides, and his father warned him that in the real world, a day would come when he would find himself cornered and completely out of options, just like this. If you want to live, you must become strong, and if you want to be strong, you can never back down, no matter how impossible the odds. Xiao Sen, I know you're a smart kid. You're just too gentle and hesitate to push forward, but you have no choice. You must do it. While I can back you up in this game time and time again, the real world won't be so forgiving. There are no restarts. Right after saying those words, Han Sen's father grabbed the blade in his son's hand and drove it straight into his own chest. This sacrifice allowed Han Sen to level up and wipe out the monsters in the dungeon on his own. At the time, it was just a suicide in a video game, but he had no idea his father would actually pass away so early in real life. Memories of his father surged violently in Han Sen's heart, screaming at him that he absolutely could not give up now. His dad was already gone. He couldn't just die and join him so soon, leaving his mother and sister to suffer alone. Suddenly, A plan flashed in Han Sen's mind. It was incredibly risky, but if it worked, he would never have to run again. By now, Shen Tianzi had caught up to him, leaping off his mount and unsheathing his sword to slice Han Sen in half. But right at that critical moment, he fused the beast soul of the Bloody Slayer with his Black Beetle beast soul. Instantly, Han Sen transformed into a half-human, half-beast creature. His upper body remained human, while his lower half became a massive black beetle. With his heavy burden gone, his speed skyrocketed, allowing him to dodge Shen Tianzi's lethal blade in the blink of an eye. The crowd chasing behind could only stare in absolute shock as they watched Han Sen fuse two different beast souls. They started whispering in disbelief. Fusing two beast souls like that could easily kill a person. They couldn't wrap their heads around how he dared to pull off such a reckless stunt while running for his life. The guy was clearly insane. But even so, Shen Tianzi had no intention of letting Han Sen go, commanding his men to keep up the chase. While all this chaos was unfolding, several other evolved humans were watching the showdown from a high vantage point, and every single one of them absolutely loathed Shen Tianzi. They had no idea who Han Sen was, but they couldn't help but admire his sheer guts. Plus, it was incredibly satisfying to watch that arrogant Shen Tianzi get humiliated like this. These mountains were full of twists and turns. As long as Han Sen took the right paths, Shen Tianzi would never be able to track him down. That guy even fired a sacred blood beast soul arrow, and he couldn't even graze a single hair on the kid's head. Man, Shen Tianzi took a massive loss this time. This is the best entertainment I've had in ages. Haha, if he sells that sacred blood golden axe beast soul, he's going to be filthy rich. It must be worth a fortune. Money? You seriously think you can just buy a sacred blood beast soul with cash? I wonder who that guy actually is. I think I heard someone call him Dollar earlier. What a badass name. It literally screams money. While those evolved humans were busy laughing at Shen Tianzi's expense, Han Sen had already made his clean escape. He found a secluded spot deep in the forest to catch his breath. Different beast souls had different forms and unique abilities. It turned out that the sacred blood shape-shifting beast soul of the Bloody Slayer had a strict time limit. With Han Sen's current strength, he could only maintain the form for about 7 to 8 minutes. It was a good thing he chose to run instead of taking on Shen Tianzi's entire army. Otherwise, once those 7 to 8 minutes ran out, he would have been torn to shreds. Unlike other beast souls, this physical golden axe couldn't be stored away in his mind's beast soul space. Han Sen was willing to bet that Shen Tianzi's men were crawling all over the entrance of the steel armor shelter. So there was no way he could bring the giant axe back with him. Left with no choice, Han Sen had to temporarily bury it in the forest. Once the job was done, he made his way back to the steel armor shelter under the cover of night. Just as he suspected, Shen Tianzi's forces were out in full blockades at the main entrance. Every single person trying to enter the shelter was being aggressively searched. Fortunately, they couldn't find a single suspicious thing on Han Sen, allowing him to pass through without a hitch. Once inside the steel armor shelter, the entire place was buzzing with rumors about how Shen Tianzi had been utterly clowned by some guy named Dollar. In fact, Shen Tianzi was so furious that he had put out a massive bounty to hunt him down. A one-time sacred blood arrow, only to have the beast soul snatched right out of his grasp. The more Han Sen heard about it, the more thrilled he was. Just this afternoon, the Son of Heaven had given him a beating, but by tonight, he had paid him back 10 times over. That very night, Qin Xuan called Su Xiaoqiao into her private office, and all because he had accidentally let slip and called Han Sen Brother Dollar. This made the Son of Heaven highly suspicious that the two were working together. If Qin Xuan hadn't stepped in to defend him, Su Xiaoqiao would already be a dead man. Spill it. Who on earth is Dollar? Sister Xuan, I swear I don't know him. I only ran into him once back in Zephyr Valley. He sold me a few wind wolves back then, and I even gave them to my buddies to try. Su Xiaoqiao had absolutely no reason to lie, especially since he was a massive simp for Qin Xuan. Seeing this, she decided not to press him any further. Instead, she wanted Su Xiaoqiao to get in touch with Dollar and tell him that she was willing to pay a premium price to buy his sacred blood beast soul. Later that night, unable to sleep, Han Sen went out to hunt again. By now, the Son of Heaven had put out a massive bounty, wanting him dead under his alias, Dollar. The reward was so ridiculously high that Han Sen was almost tempted to turn himself in for the cash. But of course, he wasn't that stupid. However, there was still one problem giving Han Sen a massive headache. His ordinary Geno points were currently sitting at 91 out of 100. He had managed to get 10 primitive geno points and 8 sacred blood geno points, but his mutant geno points were still sitting at 0. This was not good at all. At that moment, Han Sen was stalking a strange creature deep inside a lake. After waiting for what felt like ages, the creature finally poked its head up, revealing a single eye, but it quickly dove back underwater. The reason it retreated was because of a sudden noise in the forest. Han Sen instantly went on high alert, straining his ears to listen closely. A moment later, a figure emerged from the woods. His clothes were completely tattered, and everything about him felt incredibly off. The man quickly noticed Han Sen's presence and demanded to know where they were, mentioning that he came from Glory Shelter. "We're in the Techies Mountains, north of Steel Armor Shelter." "I have no idea where this Glory Shelter of yours is," Han Sen replied. Hearing this, the man's face darkened. Steel Armor Shelter? Had he really traveled so far that he was now in the territory of an entirely different god's sanctuary? With that, he looked up and ordered Han Sen in a demanding tone. "Take me to your shelter." Han Sen could easily sense the arrogant, condescending tone in his voice, which immediately rubbed him the wrong way. He merely pointed the man in the right direction. He then refused to guide him, saying he still had to hunt. But the moment Han Sen turned his back, the man blindsided him with a sudden, vicious punch. He went flying forward, his head slamming hard against a large boulder, leaving him covered in blood. Han Sen instantly lost his temper. "What the hell do you think you're doing? Shut your mouth. All you need to do is obey me. Now, get moving and take me to your shelter," the man barked. Having had absolutely enough, Han Sen summoned his beast soul weapon, ready to fight to the death. He looked incredibly menacing in his rage, but the man didn't seem the least bit intimidated. In fact, his face was filled with sheer contempt. The basic 3-stage spear technique taught in public school? Trash. Even if my beast souls have been destroyed, a useless piece of garbage like you stands no chance against me. With that, the man snapped Han Sen's spear in half with his bare hands. Stunned, Han Sen instantly recognized it as a hyper-geno art. It was an ancient martial art capable of unleashing genetic potential, much like a nuclear fusion reaction. "What's the matter? Do you need me to show you the difference between our levels, you piece of trash? I'm giving you one last chance. Lead the way, or you're dead." Han Sen knew this guy was stronger than him, but he couldn't stand some lunatic who dropped out of nowhere, constantly calling him trash. Determined to fight to the bitter end, he summoned his full suit of armor. "Who are you calling trash? Didn't anyone teach you basic manners? Learn some respect when you're out in public." With that, Han Sen lunged forward to attack, but his opponent was incredibly fast, making it impossible for Han Sen to land a single blow. Instead, the man struck him hard on the leg. Although his bone didn't break, a section of his sacred blood beast soul armor was actually dented. Han Sen was utterly shocked. He had faced countless beasts while wearing this armor, and not a single one had ever been able to leave so much as a scratch on it. This guy's strength was way beyond any normal standard. As for his opponent, he also seemed highly surprised that Han Sen's armor could actually withstand his Jadaskin. From that alone, he easily deduced that it had to be a sacred blood beast soul armor. Having just lost his own beast souls, encountering Han Sen was like catching a lucky break, so he immediately resorted to threats. "Hand over that sacred blood armor right now, and I might just spare your life." Han Sen was no fool. This armor was a godsend. There was no way he would willingly hand it over to someone else. Determined, Han Sen launched another attack. This time, he decided to deliver a heavy axe kick from above. But unfortunately, the man blocked it easily, grabbing Han Sen by the leg and slamming him violently onto the ground. Trash will always be trash. If you don't hand over that sacred blood beast soul armor, you're still nothing but trash, he snarled at Han Sen, grabbing the back of his neck and repeatedly slamming his face into the ground. Han Sen was in excruciating pain, but his fighting spirit was burning hot. He drove his elbow backward with everything he had. This time, the guy couldn't dodge in time. Han Sen's elbow smashed right into his chest, making him cough up blood instantly. "Today, I'm going to make sure you're crippled," Han Sen roared. Right after, he fused with the Bloody Slayer beast soul once again. Before the guy could even see what was happening, Han Sen knocked him straight to the ground, completely taking control of the fight. Han Sen repeatedly slammed his fists into the guy, demanding with every single punch, "Who's trash now? Huh? Who's the real trash?" The man was beaten to a pulp, desperately screaming for him to stop. But there was no way in hell Han Sen was going to let him off. By the time the Bloody Slayer beast soul wore off, the man was covered in blood, beaten so badly it was hard to even look at him. As Han Sen started to calm down, he began to shake with fear. This was the first time he had ever taken another person's life. But if he hadn't done it, he would have been the one dead today. That guy's hyper-geno art was just too terrifying. Once he finally composed himself, Han Sen walked over to the corpse. The guy's body was a total wreck. He searched the body, hoping there might be something of value left on him. Sure enough, Han Sen found something interesting. It was a memory crystal, and those things did not come cheap. After returning to his room at the steel armor shelter, Han Sen took it out to examine it. To his surprise, what was recorded inside was a complete version. It was the complete version of Jadeskin, fully detailed with three-dimensional holographic illustrations that made it incredibly easy to learn. Han Sen was grinning from ear to ear. Today was seriously his lucky day. During the day, he snatched the sacred bloody slayer beast soul right from Son of Heaven, and by night, he scored a high-level hyper-geno art from a random stranger. He had originally planned to buy a hyper-geno art once he saved up some money, but this just saved him a massive fortune. With that, Han Sen began practicing Jadeskin. The more he trained, the more mystical and profound he realized it was. About 3 days later, Han Sen felt his body growing colder by the day, but at the same time, he was getting stronger, and even his skin was becoming much smoother. His body temperature was now a full 2 degrees lower than an average person's. This had to be the signature effect of Jadeskin. Just then, Han Sen's phone rang. It was Zhang Danfeng. Han Sen, it's been forever. Let's head out and hang out. Han Hao and Shui Shi are coming too. Hearing Han Hao's name, Han Sen agreed right away. Han Hao was his cousin, the son of Han Lei. Even though Son of Heaven and his gang were aggressively hunting for him everywhere, no one knew that Han Sen was actually Dollar, so going out for a bit should be fine. Before long, Zhang Danfeng drove over to pick him up. On the way there, Han Hao kept bragging to Shui Shi about the legendary battle between Son of Heaven and Dollar. He couldn't stop talking about how incredibly cool Dollar was. Han Sen sat there, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. If Han Hao knew that the brother Dollar he was worshipping was actually his own cousin, he'd probably freeze up completely and stop praising him in front of girls. Still, Han Sen wasn't thrilled about Han Hao being at the steel armor shelter, because family drama was always a massive pain to deal with. Ever since his father passed away, their relatives had looked down on his family, even outright insulting them. Han Sen had no intention of staying close to them, but having their son show up here made things incredibly awkward. So, Danfeng, where are we heading anyway? Seeing that Zhang Danfeng had been driving for a while without arriving, Han Sen got a bit impatient. We're almost there, just look ahead. The place they pulled up to was the Starlight Martial Arts Arena. It turned out Zhang Danfeng wanted to watch a match. Today was the big fight featuring Tang Zhenliu. This guy ranked 5th in the God's Sanctuary last year, and his name was already inscribed on the God Monument. In recent years, Qin Xuan had always held the top spot on the martial arts monument at the Steel Armor Shelter, but her name had never once made it onto the God Monument. While Zhang Danfeng was busy hyping him up, down in the ring, Tang Zhenliu had already summoned his beast soul. It was the sacred blood beast soul, the raging Dementor. Zhang Danfeng stared in absolute awe, his voice filled with envy. Man, if I had a beast soul like that, I could die happy. In contrast to his wild excitement, Han Hao remained completely unfazed. Please, what's so great about that? Tang Zhenliu's raging Dementor isn't even half as good as Brother Dollar's sacred blood beast soul. Zhang Danfeng scoffed, throwing a heavily judgmental look at Han Hao. Look, I don't know how strong this Dollar guy actually is, but he stole that beast soul from someone else. That doesn't make him a hero. How can you even compare a thief like him to someone like Tang Zhenliu? Little did Zhang Danfeng know, the very target of his contempt was sitting right next to him. Han Sen heard every single word loud and clear. Talk about a dagger to the heart. But then again, the guy wasn't exactly wrong. Still, in that situation, you'd have to be an absolute idiot not to snatch the bloody slayer beast soul. Especially since Son of Heaven was his sworn enemy. Yeah, it was probably best not to tell Zhang Danfeng the truth anytime soon. To hide the fact that he was Dollar and avoid any unnecessary drama, Han Sen spent the next half a month hunting while raising that copper-toothed beast. Just as he hoped, it successfully evolved into a mutant, copper-toothed beast. Even though he really wanted to eat it to gain mutant geno points, he needed cash more right now. So, Han Sen reached out to Su Xiaoqiao first. That night, the two met up at Zephyr Valley, where Su Xiaoqiao bought the mutant copper-toothed beast flesh for $2 million. Su Xiaoqiao took the opportunity to let Han Sen know that Qin Xuan wanted to buy the Bloody Slayer beast soul and the golden double-edged axe. Han Sen was not surprised at all. He just told Su Xiaoqiao to pass on a message. If Qin Xuan could offer a price that made him happy, he would make the deal. Once the deal was done, Han Sen went back to hunting. His target this time was the quartz scorpions in the bottomless cave. These creatures carry extremely deadly venom. Fortunately, Han Sen was wearing his Black Beetle armor, so their stings could not pierce him. After clearing out the entire cave, Han Sen stuffed a whole sack full of quartz scorpions and was ready to head back. But before he could even reach the exit, he heard someone calling out to him, "Brother Dollar, is that you?" As the light ahead became clearer, he realized the person sitting there was none other than Qin Xuan. Thinking she was there to settle the score, Han Sen pretended to be deaf and tried to walk right past her. But Qin Xuan quickly called out again, begging him to take her with him. That was when Han Sen noticed her ankle was badly injured. He also realized that Qin Xuan had no idea he was the same guy who had stabbed her in the butt not long ago. With his full-body armor covering him up completely, he did not have to worry about his identity being exposed. Well, since that was the case, Han Sen decided to take advantage of the situation to get something good out of it. He sat down next to her, pretending to inspect her injury, and asked, "Looks like you got stung by a quartz scorpion. But how did that even happen? You were supposed to be incredibly strong." "A quartz scorpion ambushed me just as my ambergris was running out," Qin Xuan muttered, while a dagger suddenly appeared in her hand. Han Sen recognized the weapon immediately. It was the sacred blood, malicious butterfly dagger. "Do not even think about taking advantage of me. Your armor won't be able to block this." Han Sen had wanted to tease her a little, but he did not expect her to see right through him and be this guarded. "Hey, do not get me wrong. I do not mean any harm. Did not you want me to help you out of here?" Han Sen quickly waved his hands, acting as if he had been wrongly accused. Qin Xuan still did not let her guard down. Instead, she offered a deal. If Han Sen could safely get her out of this cave, she would pay him a hefty reward. After all, he had been doing business with Su Xiaoqiao just to make money. But now that Han Sen had made those $2 million to pay off his mother's debt, he was not in a rush for cash anymore. "Sure, I like money, but I do not really need it right now. You mentioned that quartz scorpion though. Is it still alive?" "I killed it. It is right behind me. Why do you ask?" As she said this, Qin Xuan sized Han Sen up from head to toe. She was quite surprised to see that his armor did not have a single scratch on it, even though he had just cleared a cave of quartz scorpions. Han Sen agreed to carry Qin Xuan out, but he did not want cash. Instead, he demanded a mutant beast soul as payment, along with the quartz scorpion she had just killed. They quickly shook on it, and Han Sen carried Qin Xuan on his back. Along the way, Qin Xuan could not stop thinking about why Han Sen had collected every single quartz scorpion without leaving even one behind. After losing herself in thought for a while, Han Sen finally brought Qin Xuan close to the steel armor shelter. Since neither of them wanted to be seen together, he set her down near the entrance. Keeping her word, Qin Xuan handed Han Sen a mutant beast soul. She then took the opportunity to ask about the Bloody Slayer beast soul and the double-edged axe. She really wanted to buy them, and she was willing to offer $6 million. Han Sen was highly satisfied with the offer and agreed on the spot. After all, he could not use that giant axe anyway. "Deal. Get the money ready, and I will let you know the time and place through Su Xiaoqiao." After removing his armor, Han Sen carried his loot back into the steel armor shelter. Right as he walked through the gates, he ran into Han Hao. However, his cousin acted as if they were total strangers. Only after his friends had left did Han Hao pull Han Sen into a quiet corner. It turned out Han Hao was acting this way because he heard Han Sen had offended two powerhouse hornets' nests, Qin Xuan and Son of Heaven. He did not want anyone knowing they were cousins. "My journey is just starting, and I do not want you dragging me down." "Fine. I will keep my mouth shut. As far as this shelter is concerned, we do not know each other." Han Sen threw back those words and walked away. Just a few days ago, he had been struggling with how to face his cousin, but since Han Hao chose to look down on him just like his parents did, Han Sen had absolutely nothing to worry about anymore. Returning to his room, Han Sen smiled. With plenty of money in his pocket, his life was finally about to take a turn for the better. A little bit. Han Sen really wanted to share this joy with his mother and sister, so the next day, he went home to take them both out for a fun day. Han Sen didn't even hesitate to splurge, taking Han Yan out for sapphire ice cream. It was an expensive treat that, not too long ago, he wouldn't have even dared to dream about. The parlor was packed. so Han Sen wanted to take his mother and sister up to the second floor, but they were stopped by the staff. Apparently, the second floor was strictly for the privileged and aristocrats. Luo Sulan and Han Yan didn't mind, but Han Sen couldn't hide his annoyance. He swore to himself that he would soon rise to the top, and he'd never let these upper-class privileges stand in his way again. After a wonderful day with his family, Han Sen set off to return to the steel armor shelter. Every single time he took this train, it was absolutely packed, and today was no exception. When the train slammed on its brakes, Han Sen accidentally stumbled into a girl, and, whether by sheer accident or some bizarre twist of fate, his face planted straight into her chest. He immediately caught a sharp elbow to the face as she assumed he was harassing her. Ouch. Ow. I am so sorry. I didn't mean to. Han Sen clutched his face, trembling from the agonizing pain, but when the crowd parted a bit, his eyes widened as he realized the person he had just bumped into was Qin Xuan, and she recognized him instantly as that infamous ass freak from before. This time, even if he jumped into the Yellow River, he'd never be able to wash away the guilt. A leopard really can't change its spots. I thought you were just a fool last time, but you really are a disgusting creep. Qin Xuan growled, gritting her teeth in absolute fury. Hearing this, the crowd joined in, quickly labeling Han Sen, a pervert who was using a sudden train brake, as an excuse to grope Qin Xuan. Han Sen tried to explain that the train had jerked and made him lose his balance. But how could Qin Xuan ever believe a guy with a rap sheet like his? Just as the train pulled into the station, it was clear Qin Xuan had no intention of letting him off the hook so easily. You think I'm just going to let this slide? Aren't you on your way to the steel armor shelter? Oh, I'll be waiting for you there. With that parting threat, Qin Xuan stepped off the train. Han Sen poked his head out to watch her leave, only to see two neat rows of officers standing at attention to welcome her. And the kicker? They all saluted her, calling her Station Master Qin. Han Sen felt as if a bolt of lightning had just struck him right between the ears. If Qin Xuan was the station master of this teleportation hub, she could easily track exactly when he entered and left. She would have his entire schedule right in the palm of her hand. Han Sen clutched his head in despair, cursing his absolutely abysmal luck. He immediately started brainstorming ways to guard himself against her. If his secret identity as Dollar ever got out, he could say goodbye to a peaceful life forever. Speaking of trouble, the moment Han Sen set foot back in the steel armor shelter, he ran right into Luo Tianyang and his goons. To make matters worse, they wanted to drag him along on a hunt. Han Sen tried his best to decline to avoid any trouble, but Luo Tianyang simply wouldn't take no for an answer. Before he knew it, the whole group was marching toward the mountain range. It looked like the Son of Heaven had spent a fortune to organize this massive hunting expedition. After a few days, Han Sen began to find things suspicious. They had been on the road for days, yet they had only encountered a handful of primitive beasts. With such weak prey, why would the Son of Heaven and his highly geared gang need to drag along a small army? They could easily handle this themselves. No matter how he looked at it, he knew this Son of Heaven guy had a hidden agenda. Sure enough, it didn't take long before the group reached a steep cliff overlooking a massive, gaping cavern. Luo Tianyang immediately ordered the hired mercenaries to go down first to scout the way. And Han Sen, forever labeled as the ass freak, was forced to be part of the vanguard. Han Sen was incredibly reluctant to dive into the deepest depths of these mountains. Just hearing about this place was enough to know how insanely dangerous it was. He had no idea what the Son of Heaven was planning. But unfortunately, he and the other hired guns had no choice but to push forward and open the path. The abyss inside that cavern was pitch black and seemed bottomless. They kept walking and walking, but the path felt endless. The torchbearer at the front tried to slow their pace, instinctively sensing extreme danger looming in the dark. But Luo Tianyang, marching right behind them, aggressively cracked his whip, striking them repeatedly as he barked, "Why are you moving so slow? You're dragging your feet like cowards. Hurry the hell up. Do you not want your reward anymore?" Driven by the fear of the whip, the group picked up their pace. Soon, they arrived at a roaring underground river with no apparent way to cross. Luo Tianyang then threw a few small capsules onto the water. The moment they touched the surface, they instantly expanded into large inflatable boats. Watching this, Han Sen realized they had prepared all this in advance. What on earth was waiting for them on the other side? What made it even stranger was that the Son of Heaven and his core team didn't set foot on any of the boats. As Han Sen was trying to piece it all together, the water's surface suddenly began to violently churn. Out of nowhere, a massive creature erupted from the deep water, sending violent waves crashing into the inflatable boats. The Son of Heaven stood safely on the riverbank, looking incredibly smug. "You finally showed your face, bloody-scaled black serpent." In just an instant, the terrifying emergence of the bloody-scaled black serpent claimed the lives of several mercenaries. Han Sen knew it. That bastard Son of Heaven never had any good intentions. He was clearly using them as live bait to lure out the beast. The remaining inflatable boats that hadn't been flipped immediately turned around, desperately trying to row back. But the Son of Heaven, watching from the safety of the shore, drew his red sword and unleashed a devastating strike, while at the same time, "Block their escape. You useless trash, trying to take the money and run? Anyone who dares to flee, I'll cut you down myself," he roared. Those mercenaries were all blocked, unable to make it to the shore. Trapped in a corner, they tried to strike a bargain with Son of Heaven. "If that's the case, if we manage to hold out until the end, you have to give us a cut." Hearing this, Han Sen could only call them idiots under his breath. These people were truly blinded by greed. They were clearly being used, while Son of Heaven and his crew were just chilling on the shore, watching the show. There was no way they were getting a share of anything. He was literally leading everyone straight to their deaths. Son of Heaven wanted to use human lives to feed the beast and wear it out so his group could cross the river safely. Han Sen despised this guy to the core. He had just started to make a name for himself. There was no way he would let himself die over some stupid nonsense. Han Sen tried to row as fast as he could, but he was no match for the speed of the blood crystal black-scaled serpent. Before long, his inflatable boat was flipped over. Right as he fell into the water, Han Sen quickly put on his Black Beetle armor. He couldn't do it earlier because if anyone saw, his identity as Dollar would be exposed. But once he was underwater, he was completely in the clear. Han Sen swam as fast as a speedboat, while the others weren't so lucky. Out of the original 34 people, only 7 were left clinging to life. Seeing this, Luo Tianyang flashed a satisfied smirk. "Son of Heaven, that blood crystal black-scaled serpent seems to have had its fill. If we cross the river now, we probably won't face any major danger." They didn't feel a shred of shame for their horrific actions. The entire group began to make their way across the river. On the other side of the river, Son of Heaven found exactly what he was looking for: sacred, blood creature, eggs, and there were 2 of them. Just the thought of his sacred geno points skyrocketing had him grinning from ear to ear. They wanted to grab the serpent eggs and make a quick escape, but the blood crystal black-scaled serpent wasn't about to let humans touch its offspring that easily. It rose from the riverbed once again, and Son of Heaven drew his sword and charged. Behind him, Luo Tianyang and his other lackeys rushed to back him up. They threw 2 unfortunate mercenaries into the monster's mouth to secure their escape. Son of Heaven thought they were home free, but to his surprise, he was blocked on his way out by Han Sen. To be exact, it was Han Sen in his Dollar persona who stood in his way. Son of Heaven was so ecstatic holding the sacred blood eggs that he was smiling blindly, and before he knew it, he got blindsided by Han Sen's punch right to the face. Han Sen snatched the 2 eggs and bolted. Having been robbed yet again, Son of Heaven could do nothing but scream and curse at the top of his lungs. On the flip side, Han Sen was absolutely thrilled. While he was lucky enough to survive the monster's jaws in the river, he never expected to score such a massive prize. However, during his escape, Han Sen's path was blocked by a giant serpent. It seemed the blood crystal black-scaled serpent wasn't the only one of its kind. A monster stood ahead, while Son of Heaven and his gang were hot on his heels from behind. Cornered once again, a sneaky idea popped into Han Sen's head. Han Sen squeezed and cracked one of the eggs before tossing it to Son of Heaven, shouting, "Catch! 1 for each of us. Let's put our grudge aside and team up to deal with this giant serpent first." Son of Heaven instinctively caught the egg, but he had zero intention of teaming up. He wanted Han Sen's head on a platter. Blinded by rage, Son of Heaven didn't even notice the egg was cracked until Luo Tianyang pointed it out. But right at that moment, the giant serpent went berserk and lunged straight at him. Son of Heaven had to focus all his strength on defending himself. Taking advantage of the chaos, Han Sen successfully made his getaway and returned to Steel Armor Shelter in high spirits. Dollar had snatched 2 of Son of Heaven's sacred blood beast souls. You didn't even need to think to know how furious he must be. After eating the egg, Han Sen's sacred geno points increased to 13, making him incredibly powerful now. But the moment he stepped into Steel Armor Shelter, Han Sen had to face his next headache, Qin Xuan. "You hid yourself pretty well, didn't you? Disappearing for half a month. Did you really think I'd let you off the hook?" Having followed Son of Heaven's group for nearly 2 weeks, Han Sen had completely forgotten that Qin Xuan promised to settle the score with him once they got back to the shelter. The second he saw Qin Xuan, Han Sen's face turned pale. He had expected Qin Xuan to drag him out in public to beat and scold him again, but to his surprise, she turned out to be quite honorable. Qin Xuan dragged Han Sen to the combat room for a one-on-one duel. She promised that if Han Sen won, she would never trouble him again. But Han Sen felt like this deal was totally rigged against him. Qin Xuan's sacred Geno points were almost maxed out. She had undergone years of military training, and she possessed countless high-grade beast souls. Asking him to fight her was no different from asking him to just surrender. Neither of us will use beast souls, she added. If you can last 50 moves against me in a fight, we'll call it even. How's that sound? Han Sen agreed immediately. There was no way he couldn't survive 50 moves against a girl. Qin Xuan stepped back and took a stance, saying, "Make your move first." The second she finished speaking, Han Sen lunged forward and threw a straight punch right at her face. Talk about having absolutely no chivalry hitting a girl square in the face. Qin Xuan stumbled back a few steps. Furious, she barked, "You dirty cheat." Seeing her in such a sorry state, Han Sen panicked and quickly apologized. He had only wanted to get this over with as fast as possible, so he could get out of there, which is why he attacked so fast before she could even get ready. Qin Xuan wiped the blood from her nose and stood up straight, trying to say something, but before she could even swear, Han Sen sucker punched her again. This time, it definitely wasn't an accident. He wasn't about to pass up such a golden opportunity. Qin Xuan's rage exploded. She lunged at Han Sen, unleashing a relentless barrage of punches and kicks. The strength of a military-trained fighter was on a whole different level, and getting cheap-shotted twice by Han Sen only fueled her fury. She beat Han Sen so bad, he was practically crying and begging for mercy. In the end, he took the brunt of all 50 moves she promised. She didn't hold back at all, leaving him to head home with a bruised, swollen face. This fight made Han Sen realize his strength was still nothing compared to a real expert. It looked like he still had to train like crazy, just to get stronger. As for Qin Xuan, getting her revenge made her feel a little better. However, those 2 punches still weighed heavily on her mind. After taking a shower, she decided to review the security footage of the fight. In her eyes, Han Sen's overall striking and close combat skills were absolutely pathetic. Yet, those 2 explosive punches completely caught her off guard. Han Sen hadn't hesitated for a split second, striking with the ruthless, all-out power of a seasoned assassin. It was impossible for Qin Xuan to connect that lethal focus with the clueless, goofy guy he usually pretended to be. Did he play dumb normally, only to strike with a one-hit kill when needed? He was just a recent high school graduate, so how could he possibly be an assassin? Was his combat instinct pure natural talent, or was it hard-earned from training? Qin Xuan was deeply intrigued. But regardless of his skills, to her, Han Sen was still a total creep with zero morals who loved harassing women, and Qin Xuan swore she'd never forgive him. After sleeping on it, Han Sen decided it was time to sign up for some martial arts classes. He visited a training center that offered beginner, intermediate, advanced, and elite-level classes. They taught everything from hand-to-hand combat, weapons training, and flexibility to even hyper-geno arts. After weighing his options, Han Sen decided to sign up for the Ghost Hunt class. The owner of the center sized him up for a moment, then asked skeptically, "This isn't your average advanced martial art. Is your physical fitness actually up to par? Don't worry about it. Here's $1 million on card," Han Sen said, pulling out his card and handing it over. In reality, practicing Jadeskin had already made his body significantly stronger and much more agile than before. His father had once mentioned that Ghost Hunt was incredibly effective for dealing with women. That was exactly why he chose this class, hoping it would help him handle Qin Xuan in the future. But when he finally got his hands on the instruction manual, Han Sen was dumbfounded to realize he had just flushed $1 million down the toilet. The techniques the old guy taught were all about clinging to a woman, locking her limbs, and hugging her. It was downright shameless. If he ever actually used this on Qin Xuan, she would only hate him more and think of him as some disgusting stalker. Still, $1 million was a massive fortune, so Han Sen decided to swallow his pride and learn it anyway. "Qin Xuan, you better not mess with me in the future, or I'll definitely use you as my personal training dummy." Han Sen spent a few days practicing Ghost Hunt at the gym. By the time he went back to his room, he felt like a total creep, just hoping the training would actually pay off later. He was in a terrible mood. But when he saw his copper-toothed beast had evolved into a mutant, his spirits immediately lifted. He would keep feeding it until it evolved into a sacred blood copper-toothed beast. On top of that, Son of Heaven's crew had finally given up searching for Dollar, likely due to a lack of leads. This was fantastic news for Han Sen, meaning he could move around freely without looking over his shoulder. With everything settling down, he finally decided to inspect the mutant beast soul he had won from Qin Xuan. However, the beast soul was much smaller than he had expected. While most beast souls took the form of weapons, the one Qin Xuan gave him was actually a pet. The catch was that this black cat was tiny, and it was hard to tell if it had any combat power at all. Wanting to test it out, Han Sen ordered the three-eyed black cat to charge at the horn-scaled beast in front of them. His pet eagerly leaped forward, but before it could even land a strike, the horned-scaled beast swatted it right back. The experiment was a total failure. It was clear that despite being a mutant pet, it was utterly useless. Well, not entirely, but all it could do was meow and act cute. Han Sen realized he'd been completely played by Qin Xuan, but now wasn't the time to settle that score. Today's hunt was going to be another solo job. For the next few days, Han Sen kept hunting, and of course, he had to do all the heavy lifting himself. Because that mutant three-eyed black cat was completely useless, and it even ate more than he did. Normally, beast souls didn't need to eat or drink. If they got hurt, you just recalled them to your inventory to rest, and they'd heal on their own in no time. Even though this cat was zero help with hunting, it at least kept Han Sen entertained. So, he decided to keep it and named it Meowth. While Han Sen and Meowth were busy enjoying some freshly grilled beast meat, a desperate cry for help suddenly echoed in the distance. It was a fellow hunter, who was also out hunting. The moment Han Sen saw what was chasing the guy, he bolted like there was no tomorrow. The man desperately begged him for help. "Bro, don't run, I can pay you, just name your price." It sounded tempting, but Han Sen wasn't stupid. What was chasing the guy was a herd of mammo beasts. Just one of those things was enough to trample Han Sen to death, and there was a whole herd of them right there. Han Sen ran toward a massive cliff, quickly grabbed onto some vines, and climbed up to safety. The man pleaded with Han Sen to pull him up. Showing some mercy, Han Sen reached down and managed to pull him up to the ledge. Just as the mammo beasts reached the base of the cliff, the two of them collapsed, gasping for air. Although they were safe for now, they had to wait until the mammo beasts left before they could climb back down. Man, what on earth did you do to have a herd of 100 crazy mammo beasts chasing you down like that? The man pulled out a pack of cigarettes, lit one up, and offered one to Han Sen. With just a glance, Han Sen could tell the cigarettes were incredibly expensive. Realizing this guy was probably someone important, he accepted one and lit it up. "I was in a rush to get somewhere, but my beast soul got destroyed. I was so hungry I thought I was gonna die, so I decided to hunt a baby mammo beast. By the way, bro, what should I call you?" Han Sen introduced himself, and the guy introduced himself as Lin Beifeng. He then asked how far they were from Glory Shelter. "If you're asking about Steel Armor Shelter, it'll take about a few days to get there. But as for Glory Shelter, I have no idea." Hearing Han Sen's reply, the guy looked completely shocked. It seemed he had wandered into another shelter's territory. He then reassured Han Sen, promising he would pay him back in full once they returned to the shelter. "Fine by me, but before that, we'll have to get used to each other's company," Han Sen said, glancing at the mammo beasts, which showed no signs of leaving. Lin Beifeng grinned and asked if Han Sen had any food or water. Since his hunt had been a disaster, he hadn't had a single bite to eat. Han Sen pulled out a cup of water and a piece of jerky. The water is $10,000 a cup, and the jerky is also $10,000 a piece. Lin Beifeng was taken aback by Han Sen's ridiculous prices, but Han Sen didn't feel guilty at all. After all, it was a simple case of supply and demand. Lin Beifeng sheepishly asked if he could buy on credit. He promised that once they got back to the shelter, he would pay him back 4 times the amount. They ended up eating and sleeping on that cliff for several days. The mammo beasts were incredibly stubborn. Not a single one of them was willing to leave. Lin Beifeng was starting to lose his patience. But Han Sen was actually the one who was more worried. The food and water he brought would only last a few more days. If things kept going like this, they would literally starve to death. So, he came up with an idea: climb to the top of the cliff and find a way down the other side. Since Han Sen was much more agile than Lin Beifeng, he volunteered to go up first and scout ahead. "Sen, be careful up there, don't leave me behind." Eventually, Han Sen made it to the top. Never in his wildest dreams did he think the first time he'd actually use Ghost Hunt would be to climb a cliff. Still, the feeling was pretty thrilling. But when he finally reached the top, Han Sen found a massive egg. A shiver ran down his spine. Just what kind of creature could lay an egg this enormous? Any creature that could build a nest suspended between heaven and earth like this was definitely not ordinary. In fact, it might even be a sacred blood beast. Han Sen poked a hole in the eggshell and started to drink. It turned out to be a stormbird egg. However, simply drinking the egg wouldn't grant him any sacred geno points. He had to eat its flesh to get at least 1 point. Han Sen was thrilled. He quickly gulped down the entire egg before the mother bird could return. Down below, the mammo beasts finally started to disperse. Lin Beifeng let out a huge sigh of relief. Just then, Han Sen climbed back down. Seeing his belly suddenly bulging, Lin Beifeng blurted out something incredibly stupid. "Sen, are you pregnant?" Speechless, Han Sen explained how he had stumbled upon a stormbird egg. He had even saved a cup for Lin Beifeng. Since the guy was starving and this was the egg of a sacred blood creature, he didn't complain for a second and drank it all in one gulp. See? I wasn't lying, was I? Too bad we didn't get any sacred geno points though. Lin Beifeng drank it. Slurping down the entire sacred blood stormbird egg, Lin Beifeng grabbed Han Sen's hands and shook them frantically. He couldn't stop praising Han Sen, calling him the best guy ever. He was so touched that Han Sen would actually share a sacred blood creature's egg with him. Lin Beifeng kept repeating that once he got back, he would reward Han Sen handsomely, whether with money or anything else he wanted. Seeing how enthusiastic he was, Han Sen felt he had to warn him. "Young Master Lin, my reputation back at Steel Armor Shelter isn't exactly great. You might want to keep your distance from me." But Lin Beifeng immediately shot back. "Who do you take me for? You saved my life, and you're incredibly loyal. How could I be such an ungrateful jerk? If anyone dares to disrespect you, I'll teach them a lesson they'll never forget." Seeing Lin Beifeng looking like he was about to jump him, Han Sen quickly said, all right, let's talk about this when we get back." Shortly after, one of them headed back to Steel Armor Shelter, while the other returned to Glory Shelter. But Han Sen really liked Lin Beifeng's straightforward personality, figuring he was a friend worth keeping. As Han Sen stepped out of the teleport station, still riding the high of a successful hunt, he bumped right into Qin Xuan. It looked like she was waiting just for him, but he decided to play dumb. "Chief Qin, what a coincidence. Follow me," Qin Xuan ordered. Having mastered Ghost Hunt, Han Sen wasn't so afraid of her anymore, so he casually followed. Because he was a chill guy, the two of them ended up in the combat room again. Though he had no idea why she was throwing another tantrum, Han Sen resolved to get his money's worth out of his $1 million Ghost Hunt technique. Without even shouting start, Qin Xuan immediately threw a kick. Luckily, Han Sen dodged it, though it gave him a good scare. "Chief Qin, why did you attack before calling start? I learned from the best. Don't you always jump people when they're unprepared?" It seemed like Qin Xuan was dead set on beating Han Sen within an inch of his life this time. But he caught her next kick. Han Sen locked his arms around Qin Xuan's leg and slammed her hard onto the ground. "Chief Qin, does this count as my win?" Han Sen asked, utterly smug. It turned out Ghost Hunt was incredibly effective against women. Predictably, Qin Xuan went ballistic, screaming at Han Sen for being a shameless bastard. Furious beyond belief, she even summoned her beast soul. Qin Xuan's beast soul was a flame lion. Knowing he stood no chance against that, Han Sen booked it. "You're breaking the rules. Didn't we agree not to use beast souls?" No matter how loud he yelled, Qin Xuan had no intention of stopping. Her rage looked intense enough to blow the entire Steel Armor Shelter away. Unsurprisingly, Han Sen lost this match as well. Even though Qin Xuan had cheated, he was still outclassed in raw physical strength, close combat skills, and experience. Han Sen thought he had gotten a lot stronger, but in the face of absolute power, he was still too weak. As for Qin Xuan, she wasn't feeling great either. She had been forced to use her beast soul, which proved that Han Sen had grown significantly stronger since their last fight. So over the next few days, Qin Xuan dragged Han Sen to the combat room every single day. Though he didn't get why she was doing this, Han Sen actually enjoyed sparring with such a beautiful lady. Plus, he wanted to sharpen his combat skills anyway. But after every session, his entire body was sore. Qin Xuan was gorgeous, sure, but she didn't have a gentle bone in her body. "Brother Sen, long time no see." Stepping out of the combat room, Han Sen bumped right into an old acquaintance, Shui Shi, the girl who used to hang out with him in Zhang Danfeng's group. Since Shui Shi had recently come of age to enter the shelter, seeing her here made perfect sense. They had barely exchanged 3 sentences when a luxury supercar suddenly pulled up. A tall, incredibly sharp-looking young man stepped out of the vehicle. Little sister, what did I tell you? You should only teleport when you're at home. Using it at a public teleport station just makes it easy for random losers to bother you. Realizing her brother thought Han Sen was some creep, Shuishi quickly explained, "Fourth brother, don't get the wrong idea. This is Han Sen, my childhood friend." Seeing that the newcomer was Shuishi's brother, Han Sen politely greeted him and extended his hand. But the guy didn't just refuse the handshake, he spat out some incredibly harsh words. "Someone like you has no right to be friends with my sister. Stay away from her from now on, or don't blame me for getting rough." Shuishi looked mortified by her brother's rude behavior, while Han Sen was far from pleased about being treated like dirt the moment they met. "Are you talking to me? Seems like you didn't hear a word I said," Shuishi's brother sneered, suddenly lunging forward. Han Sen realized the guy was trying to engage him in close combat, but Ghost Taunt was basically the holy grail of close combat. Ever since he mastered it, even Qin Xuan didn't dare challenge him in a brawl. Yet this guy was practically handing himself over on a silver platter. Han Sen gracefully dodged his kick and lunged forward. He stepped up, grabbed the guy's collar with both hands, and slammed his towering body onto the ground with all his might. Shuishi's brother couldn't help but curse under his breath. Meanwhile, Han Sen felt incredibly satisfied that he had taught the guy a lesson. It was just a little greeting between men. "You're so big and strong, so I'm sure you'll be fine, right?" After that, he didn't linger any longer. Before leaving, Han Sen didn't forget to say goodbye to Shuishi, telling her they should grab dinner together next time they got the chance. It was really just a polite invite, but Shuishi's brother took it completely to heart. What a special greeting. It would be incredibly rude not to return the favor. "Shuishi, invite your friend over for dinner in a few days." By this time, Han Sen had returned to his room at the steel armor shelter. Lately, because Qin Xuan kept hounding him, he had no time to hunt in the mountains, so his income had plummeted. So, Han Sen started browsing for part-time jobs on the Polar Night website. Although it wasn't an official site, it was still used to trade intel and essential supplies, and it actually had a pretty large following. The first thing that caught Han Sen's eye was Lin Beifeng's name. He couldn't believe the guy actually used his real name to trade. On the site, Lin Beifeng was offering high prices to buy beast souls and mutant creature flesh. But those items were incredibly rare and hard to get, so Han Sen couldn't help him with that. Then, he saw another listing. It was looking for someone who could single-handedly take on 10 primitive creatures to keep the client safe while they fought. To put it simply, it was babysitting a bunch of rookies who had no hunting experience. This kind of job wasn't hard, but it was a total pain. Han Sen wasn't a big fan of it, but the daily pay was 10,000 yuan. A half-month trip could easily get him 150,000 yuan. Since he was basically a slave to money, he applied for the position right away. After finding the job, Han Sen went back to searching for a suitable weapon. After all, his crescent spear had been completely destroyed by that strange man from before. Han Sen quickly came across a semi-alloy dark warrior bow and some alloy arrows. He didn't expect to find such a high-quality item on this sketchy website. What was even more surprising was that this bow set dealt massive damage, and the listed price was at least 2 million yuan. Yet, it had been sitting on the forum for a long time with no takers. This dark warrior bow was also known as the Doomsday Soul, and in official stores, it was considered high-end gear. Its retail price tag was as high as 6,680,000 yuan, with a maximum range of up to 800 meters. Paired with alloy arrows, piercing through heavy armor from 300 meters away was no problem at all. However, it required a standard alliance strength of 7.0 or higher just to draw the Doomsday Soul. Thanks to his Jadeskin art, Han Sen had already boosted his own strength level to 8.0. Since he had practiced archery quite a lot, he really liked this gear. But money was tight lately, so he had to negotiate the price carefully. Han Sen first messaged the seller with an offer of 1 million yuan, but he didn't get an immediate response. Just as he was starting to worry that his offer was too low, he received a reply. The seller accepted his offer right away and even sent a trading link. Han Sen was absolutely thrilled. By the very next day, his package had already arrived. After unboxing his new gear, Han Sen was itching to test out its power. The Dark Warrior bow was definitely not to be underestimated. A single arrow could turn the tide of any battle. With this weapon in his hands, Han Sen felt way more secure. Next time he ran into Son of Heaven or a sacred blood creature, he wouldn't have to risk his life by charging straight at them anymore. Over the next 3 days, Han Sen bought 20 new lightning element alloy arrows and 20 lightweight alloy arrows. Along with the 6 arrows that came with the bow, he had more than enough to survive out there. He headed over to the job interview, only to find that a crowd of people had already arrived before him. Han Sen was surprised. He had thought they were only hiring him. A large crowd just made things complicated. Han Sen was starting to regret coming. Just as he was debating whether to turn around and leave, a few guys recognized him. Oh, isn't that the ass freak? He's even carrying a bow and arrows on his back. Well, look at him trying to play the part. Don't tell me you took this job to protect those young masters on their hunt too? Honestly, I think those young masters are the ones who will have to protect him. Haha. While everyone was laughing at him, Han Sen noticed Han Hao standing not far away, staring at him with a look of pure spite. Keeping a cold expression, Han Sen calmly faced them. Young Master Yuan, wearing an arrogant smirk, spoke up and asked, "Are you that ass freak?" Without a shred of embarrassment, Han Sen nonchalantly replied, "If you don't think I'm a good fit, I can leave right now." But young Master Yuan insisted, "No, stay. You will protect us." Seeing this, young Master Qing tried his best to talk him out of it. "Yuan, he's the ass freak." Other members of the team quickly chimed in. "Yeah, young Master Yuan, having him protect us? He can't do it. If we actually run into any danger, he'll probably run away faster than any of us." No matter what anyone said, young Master Yuan stood his ground. "I've made my choice. You guys can hire a few more people if you want. Here, sign the contract." Han Sen took the contract. After signing the contract quickly, Zhang Danfeng suddenly walked by, intentionally bumping into him before sneering, "Hey, assman, you sure have some crazy luck. Finding a young master who is both rich and easygoing like that." He didn't panic at all, calmly replying, "My luck has always been pretty good." Deep in the woods, a breeze began to rustle the trees, but the group continued walking peacefully through the quiet forest. Suddenly, Zhang Danfeng pointed off in one direction and shouted, "Look, there's a primitive creature over there." Sure enough, following his gaze, a dark shadow flickered past. Instantly, the entire group rushed forward to give chase. Someone shouted at the top of their lungs, "Hurry up and catch it! Protect the young master!" Meanwhile, a hand gently reached for the arrows on his back. Han Sen decisively let loose an arrow, but it landed straight in a tree trunk, leaving everyone utterly confused. "Hey, you! What the hell are you aiming at?" After releasing the arrow, Han Sen muttered to himself, "The Doomsday Bow is indeed incredibly powerful, but I just need to put a little more strength into it." At that moment, Zhang Danfeng strolled over to him and sneered, "Did you forget that you can't even hit a target within 10 yards? And you still have the nerve to escort young Master Yuan?" Hearing this, Han Sen simply replied, "I'm just practicing." At his response, Zhang Danfeng scoffed in disgust. "Practicing? With your pathetic skills? Don't embarrass yourself." Han Hao then stepped up from nowhere and snapped at Han Sen. "Don't you dare tell anyone you know me." A while later, the group arrived at a cave and found themselves facing off against some beasts. Han Sen, however, stood on high ground, quietly observing the situation. Looking at the beasts in front of him, young Master Yuan grinned with excitement. "Nice, 3 primitive black-spotted beasts. You guys stay back, we'll handle this ourselves." Hearing this, the bodyguards replied, "All right then, please be careful." Without hesitation, the young master charged at the beasts, fighting with absolute enthusiasm, while Han Sen watched from above, looking quite pleased. In reality, these rich kids actually had a lot of potential. They just needed some protection in the beginning. Though they lacked real-world experience, after several days of practice, they had improved significantly, easily taking down the primitive creatures. Before long, the beasts lay defeated on the ground. An envious voice muttered, "As expected of people from the Noble Academy. Their starting point is just way higher than commoners like us, who only finished basic education." On the other side, young Master Qing looked down at the beasts he had personally slain and laughed triumphantly. "We did it! This is our victory." Suddenly, one of the seemingly dead beasts snapped its eyes open and lunged straight at young Master Qing. Hearing the sudden noise, Han Hao, Zhang Danfeng, and another bodyguard spun around in absolute shock. Young Master Yuan panicked as he saw his friend about to be mauled, while young Master Qing shrieked in terror, "Yuan!" Out of nowhere, an arrow whistled through the air, piercing right through the beast's skull. It collapsed instantly, leaving young Master Qing utterly stunned. Only then did the rest of the bodyguards rush over to vent their anger, shouting, "Damn it! You dare play dead? Die, you piece of garbage, die!" Meanwhile, young Master Yuan rushed to pull his friend up, asking anxiously, "Qing, are you okay?" Young Master Qing let out a sigh of relief and said, "I'm fine, but that scared the life out of me." Suddenly, Zhang Danfeng pointed at Han Sen and screamed, "Hey, assman! Why the hell are you shooting your arrows all over the place? That arrow almost hit young Master Qing just now." Han Hao chimed in, "Exactly. Do you have any idea how dangerous that was?" While Han Sen calmly faced the two of them, a sudden roar echoed through the cave. "Get out!" Zhang Danfeng stepped right in front of Han Sen, trying to throw him out. "Did you hear that, assman? Young Master Yuan told you to get lost," but it seemed he had completely misunderstood. Young Master Yuan grabbed his collar and roared in a fury. "I told you guys to get lost." He pointed his finger at Han Hao's group and snapped, "I paid you guys to come here and protect us. When Qing was in danger just now, what did you all do?" He scolded them without holding back. "You did absolutely nothing. Not a single one of you reacted. And now you're blaming the only person who actually did his job? You people disgust me. Don't let me ever see your faces again." Zhang Danfeng spat back defiantly. "Fine, young Master Yuan. We'll leave if you want. But according to our contract, doing this violates the terms, so you have to pay us the remaining balance." Young Master Yuan threw the money straight at them and snapped, "Take it and get lost, you useless trash." As they walked away, Han Sen casually waved and said, "Goodbye." Zhang Danfeng let out a bitter snort and muttered, "Just you wait." After that, young Master Qing walked over to thank Han Sen. Thank you for saving my life just now." Han Sen shrugged and replied, "Don't worry about it. I'm just glad you're not hurt." By now, young Master Yuan's attitude toward him had become much warmer and more respectful. According to the contract, his name was Han Sen. To be able to use the Doomsday Bow from the Black Vader series, a person's strength had to be at least 7.0 on the Alliance scale. Upon hearing this, young Master Qing gasped in admiration. 7.0. That's incredible. You sure have a sharp eye, Yuan. Watching the way Han Sen had just handled himself, young Master Yuan speculated, "Actually, what I said was an understatement. On his very first try, his power rating was almost 8.0. Right then and there, he knew he had to befriend Han Sen. Brother Sen, let us be friends. Please look out for me in the future." Han Sen shook his hand, accepting the friendship. "Young Master Yuan, you are being way too humble. After all, you hired me right off the bat because you recognized the Doomsday Soul." Honestly, Han Sen had to respect the young master a bit for that. Rich kid or not, his vision was top-notch, making him a pretty solid boss. Most people would have never recognized it. The next day, at the shelter gate, a massive crowd was bustling in and out. Han Sen had barely made it back when someone blocked his path. Zhang Danfeng was still incredibly salty about what happened that day and was looking for trouble. "Finally, you are back. You ass freak. You ruined my business, and I am absolutely pissed." Without a second thought, Zhang Danfeng lunged to attack Han Sen. "You dared to mess with my livelihood, so I am going to teach you a lesson you will never forget." Han Hao, who was watching from the crowd, could only shake his head. "What an idiot, Han Sen. You brought this on yourself, and I am not helping you." But reality is often disappointing. Han Sen easily dodged the blow, leaving Zhang Danfeng completely shocked. "What?" He vanished in the blink of an eye, and a firm grip clamped down on his wrist, locking his knife in place. Han Sen pinned him to the ground, effortlessly disarming him. The guy instantly shrieked in pain. "Arg! My arm!" The sight left Han Hao completely dumbfounded. What the hell? He was so fast he practically vanished. I could not even see his movements. And it was not just him. Zhang Danfeng's entire gang was frozen in shock. Wait, the ass freak just took down Zhang Danfeng. That is impossible. Zhang Danfeng's physical fitness rating is 6.7. Even pinned to the dirt, Zhang Danfeng kept screaming like a maniac. "What are you idiots staring at? Get over here and kill this bastard." Annoyed by the noise, Han Sen gave his arm a sharp twist, warning him in a bone-chilling voice. "You talk too much." But the rest of the gang was completely clueless, actually daring to charge Han Sen all at once. "Get him! Kill him!" Blades flashed left and right, but Han Sen calmly countered with lethal, precise slashes of his own. With every single strike, he shattered their weapons into pieces, leaving them utterly bewildered. Wait, what just happened? Even Han Sen was highly impressed by the sheer sharpness of his newly acquired blade, a high-grade alloy dagger. I cannot believe a clown like Zhang Danfeng had such a masterpiece. This baby is easily worth over 1 million yuan. The thought brought a smug smile to his face. perfect, I was just looking for a new toy. Meanwhile, Han Hao was still frozen like a statue. Is this seriously the same Han Sen I used to know? He stared at Han Sen, examining the blade, his mind spinning with confusion. Was not he just a pathetic loser who could only hunt black beetles? He could not even take down a primitive creature. He was supposed to be weaker than me. Why? As for Zhang Danfeng, Han Sen had absolutely no intention of giving his dagger back. Zhang Danfeng, a masterpiece like this is completely wasted on a piece of trash like you. So, I will be taking it. It is mine now. Pocketing his new prize, he casually turned around to leave. But as he walked away, a sudden roar echoed through the air, forcing him to halt. It was Luo Tianyang, riding a beast, blocking his path. Ass freak, you have got some serious guts, daring to lay a hand on my men. Seeing his savior arrive, Zhang Danfeng immediately started crying out. Brother Luo, this bastard twisted my arm and stole my dagger. You have to teach him a lesson for me. Annoyed by his brainless underlings whining, Luo Tianyang snapped. You useless piece of trash, all you do is embarrass me. Without another word, he lashed out with his whip, aiming to teach Han Sen a brutal lesson. You arrogant brat, today I will show you what happens to people who cross me. Unfazed, Han Sen immediately raised his newly acquired dagger to block the strike. Dodging the fast-paced blows, Han Sen could not help but acknowledge his strength. Incredibly strong. They were not kidding when they said his physical rating is 9.6. Luo Tianyang was equally shocked that Han Sen could hold his ground. He actually dodged that? Since when did this useless piece of trash get so strong? Realizing the threat, he knew he could not let Han Sen survive. Raising his whip high, he snarled, You are dead meat. But before he could unleash his strike, Han Sen drew his bow, aiming an arrow straight at his head, freezing him in his tracks. What? Han Hao's jaw literally dropped to the floor. Han Sen is actually going toe-to-toe with Luo Tianyang. Zhang Danfeng's goons could not believe their eyes either. Is this ass freak suicidal? That is Brother Luo. He is one of the Son of Heaven's top men. Han Sen was also feeling the strain, calculating his moves. Holding this heavy bow fully drawn was draining his stamina fast, but he could not afford to show any weakness now. If Luo Tianyang made even a single twitch, he would put an arrow right through him. Out of nowhere, Qin Xuan stepped in, commanding him in an authoritative voice. Han Sen, put your arrow down. Her sudden appearance caught him off guard. Qin Xuan, what is she doing here? Turning her icy gaze toward Luo Tianyang, she snapped. Luo Tianyang, you too. Put that whip away. Glancing at her authoritative stance, both of them reluctantly lowered their weapons. Luo Tianyang was quick to play the victim, shouting out, Wait, Sister Qin, this ass freak is the one who harassed you. And today, he dared to attack me. I have to put him down. Qin Xuan did not say a single word, instead striking out instantly, aiming a blow straight at his hand, holding his whip. That strike of hers sent him crashing to the ground, making his lackeys rush over in a panic. Brother Luo, are you okay? Meanwhile, she turned around to warn him. I will discipline my own people. There is no need for an outsider like you to stick your nose in. Then, she ordered Han Sen, What are you standing there for? Let's go. He muttered in response, Huh? Oh, all right. Shortly after, they both left under Luo Tianyang's furious gaze, while his lackeys whispered among themselves. Qin Xuan said, Ass freak is her guy. Does she really like this type? Did she seriously fall for him just because he poked her? Ignoring his buzzing lackeys, Luo Tianyang swore in anger. Damn it, I'm not letting this slide. Just you wait. Han Sen strolled after Qin Xuan. But after hearing her words, he flat out refused. Huh? You want me to join the bullseye team? No way, I'm not going. But she reasoned that since he could use the Doomsday Soul, his physical fitness must be pretty good. You crossed Luo Tianyang today. Without my protection, do you really think he'll just let it go? However, he still stood his ground. Station Master Qin, I appreciate your kindness, but I'll handle my own business. But she kept trying to convince him. In this entire steel armor shelter, my bullseye team is the only elite squad. If you apply to the military academy in the future, this will be a massive help. Hearing this, he replied dejectedly, Who said I want to go to a military academy? My physical fitness score can't even reach 10. I don't meet the requirements. But of course, she didn't believe him, and even taunted him. Oh really? It might be impossible for an ordinary person, but for you, nothing is impossible. Qin Xuan's words left Han Sen wondering what she meant. She smiled smugly and replied, Even though you don't look like anything special, You actually have some real strengths. I don't care how strong you are. To me, utilizing talent is the top priority. Suddenly, he dared to ask her, utilizing my talent? After what I did to you in the past, you're not angry? Just mentioning this drove her crazy, and she warned him to say it one more time. Once she calmed down, she reminded him, if you don't go to a military academy and don't have an aristocratic title, once you reach conscription age, you'll end up as a regular soldier and serve as cannon fodder on the front lines. Hearing that, he smirked and retorted, how do you know I can't secure a high military rank? He smugly calculated in his mind, if I practice Jadiskin, I can use the black crystal to obtain higher level genes, and then get a high rank. I have it all figured out. Suddenly, Qin Xuan angrily grabbed Han Sen by the collar and roared, I said you can't, so you can't. Are you looking for a beating? Seeing her so intense, he could only laugh sheepishly and comply. All right, I get it. I'll join the bullseye team. On the outside, he played along, but inside, he was cursing her nonstop. Damn it, this woman has military connections. If she really wants to make trouble for me, my life will be a living hell. A bit later, he returned home, collapsed on his bed, and wondered, I haven't rested in days. I'm so exhausted. Why is Qin Xuan so desperate to get me into the bullseye team? What is she plotting? Suddenly, there was a knock at his door. Han Sen opened it and asked, Mom, is something wrong? Luo Sulan asked him gently, Little Sen, I'm busy tomorrow. Can you take Yan to school? Hearing this, he smiled and asked, Has Yan enrolled? Which school? She replied gently. You've been so busy at the shelter lately, I didn't get a chance to tell you. With the money you gave us last time, I enrolled her in St. Paul. Knowing his sister was going to a good school, he was thrilled. Really? Aside from those elite private academies, St. Paul is the absolute best on planet Roka. I'll take her to school tomorrow. Seeing him agree, she didn't say anything more. All right, thank you, son. The next day, Han Sen walked Han Yan to school. He gently advised her, Yan, I heard St. Paul has a great environment. Make sure to make some friends, okay? She shyly replied, I don't know. I'm too embarrassed. Hearing that, he gently patted her head and said, It'll be fine. Just be yourself and you'll get along with everyone over time. And if anyone bullies you, just call your big brother. Touched by his care, she happily chirped, Okay. A moment later, near the gates of St. Paul Private School, Han Yan spotted Han Lei's family. Isn't that our cousin and that second uncle? She asked innocently. He's holding a little boy, and Auntie is right next to him, right? Han Sen smirked and replied, I'm not sure. This might get interesting. As Han Lei was leading his son into the school, he happened to spot the siblings. Seeing them, he snapped in annoyance. What are you two doing here? He replied in a stern voice, taking Yan to school. At his words, he angrily handed the child to the woman beside him. Then he raised his voice to scold him. St. Paul's tuition is extremely expensive. It's at least several $1,000,000. Your dad ran the family company for so many years. He definitely pocketed a fortune from it. He pointed his finger threateningly at him. Let me tell you, that money belongs to the Han family. It must be split equally, or else don't blame me for getting rough. Unfazed, he let out a menacing grin and fired back, Second uncle, you clearly haven't read the contract, have you? The contract makes it crystal clear. The 2 million yuan has already been paid. You won't get another single cent from our family. His words drive the man absolutely crazy. You lying punk, just wait, when I get back, I'm going straight to your mother. He calmly warns him back. Second uncle, I wouldn't do that if I were you. I have every right to beat you to death. Enraged, Han Lei loses his mind and lunges forward to strike Han Sen. You little brat, what did you just say? Han Yan screams in terror at the sight. Don't touch my brother. With complete ease, he blocks the punch and effortlessly sweeps him off his feet, slamming him onto the ground. Then, he coldly warns him. Second uncle, if you're so tired of living, feel free to come to my house and try your luck. Seeing her brother look so incredibly cool, Han Yan looks at him with pure admiration. Wow, you're amazing, bro. The woman, seeing how things turned out, quickly scoops up her crying child and makes a run for it. Don't worry, sweetie. Mommy will take you to school first, and then I'll call the cops and make sure he rots in prison. Suddenly, Han Sen kneels down and pulls out his mini camera. That woman is pretty nice, and the kid is quite cute too. If second aunt saw this, what do you think she would do? Han Lei is utterly shocked and panicked at this. You recorded all of that? Terrified, he reaches out to grab the camera. You maniac. Delete it, right now. But before he can even touch it, Han Sen catches his wrist. Then, with a sly grin, he threatens him. Come on, we're family. Let's make a deal. If you transfer 2 million yuan to me, second uncle, I might consider deleting it. Even in this situation, the man refuses to back down. In your dreams. Of course, Han Sen has no intention of giving him a choice. He twists his arm and growls, transfer it, right here, right now. With no other choice, the man has to give in. All right, let me do it. Not long after, Han Sen receives the 2 million yuan. Once the money is in, Han Sen leads Han Yan into the school, not forgetting to leave a final warning for Han Lei, second uncle. I'll delete the video, but it'll depend on my mood. And don't even think about coming to my house to cause trouble again, or you'll pay dearly. Only after he has been gone for a while does the man finally muster the courage to spit out his rage. Han Sen, you absolute bastard. He looks down at his hand that Han Sen just twisted, wondering in utter confusion when the kid had gotten so strong it's like he's a completely different person. Later, after dropping his sister off at school, Han Sen walks back idly, thinking to himself, because of second uncle, Yan Yan was late for school. Did I scare her back there? She seemed so hesitant and reserved when she spoke to me after that. Feeling guilty, he sighs and reminds himself to hold back on the violence around Yan Yan. She's still way too young. While walking, he randomly stops in front of a building and makes up his mind, the Fitness Assessment Center. I've been practicing with the Doomsday Soul a few times lately. I wonder if my strength has increased at all. Let's head inside first. Inside the lobby of the Fitness Assessment Center for the Unevolved, someone is waiting for his turn. That person is Zhao Boshan. He is nervously waiting for his turn to be tested. Damn it, I didn't perform at my best earlier. Let's try again. I have to get a AA rating. He pumps himself up. To become an interstellar warship captain, I need to keep working hard. Go for it. Looking at the display, showing that the room is occupied, he feels a bit disappointed. Is someone in there? I specifically picked a less crowded spot too. To kill time while waiting, he decides to check out who has occupied the room while he was away. Looking at the person taking the test inside, he is quite shocked. What? Is he using a beast soul to clear the robot channel? He begins to calculate. As an unevolved human, passing 60 meters is considered standard. 70 meters is satisfactory, 80 meters is excellent, 90 meters is advanced, and passing 100 meters is super. And the one whose stats Zhao Boshan is currently evaluating is none other than Han Sen. I reached 76 meters. This guy, even using a beast soul, can probably reach 80 meters at most. Meanwhile, inside the room, Han Sen is easily knocking down countless simulated robots. This sight leaves Zhao Boshan dumbfounded. What? What is even more mind-blowing is his score. He easily achieves a SSS rating with a time of 7.88 seconds. This leaves Zhao Boshan wondering in sheer disbelief. There's no way he cleared it on his first try, and in such a short time. This is insane. Who on earth is this guy? This is incredible. However, when he looks back into the training room to see who it is, the room is completely empty. In the blink of an eye, the guy had already vanished. A look of pure bewilderment remains on his face. The next day, the video of Han Sen's training session is uploaded onto the online forums, leaving everyone in awe. Did you guys see that? The post is blowing up on the forums. 7.88 seconds. The violent god completely crushes the robot channel. Ah, that's Lord Dollar. They gossip excitedly among themselves. Yeah, it's him, the absolute legend. Speaking of which, didn't he steal the Son of Heaven's beast soul? Without that beast soul, he'd be nothing. The guy is just incredibly lucky. If you're so capable, why don't you go steal one yourself, buddy? Meanwhile, inside a seaside villa, a voice calls out, Zhenlu, come over and look at this. Tang Zhenlu walks over, while wiping away his sweat, and asks, Lin Feng, what's up? I just finished my B-God standard training. The moment he saw that video, his jaw dropped in disbelief and he blurted out, holy crap, 7.8 seconds with a SSS rank? What kind of monster is this guy? Lu Feng piped up to clarify, the person who posted this video didn't get a look at his face, but based on the analysis, except for his sacred Geno points, all of his other Geno stats are completely maxed out. On top of that, he believes this guy has also mastered a hyper Geno art, and that armor he's wearing is definitely a sacred blood beast soul. Hearing this, Tang Zhenlu's curiosity was instantly piqued. With all those top-tier specs, I need to know who this guy is right now. He bitterly declared, I've been waiting forever for those absolute freaks to move on to the second god sanctuary. If this bastard dares to get in my way of competing for the title of Chosen, I'll have to take him out. Lu Feng gently warned him, with stats like those, his background definitely isn't simple. He might even have ties to the military. Do you really think you can afford to cross him? Feeling a bit embarrassed by the call-out, Tang Zhenliu cleared his throat and replied, wasn't I just letting my anger get the best of me? Don't make it sound so serious. Lu Feng ignored him, his mind still fixated on the mysterious figure in the video. Still, I'm really curious about his identity. With that kind of power, he's bound to make a massive impact on the shelter. 2 days later, at the teleport station, Han Sen, the guy in that wildly viral video, was following a station staff member, sighing to himself as he walked. I've only been gone for a few days, and Qin Xuan is already calling me back. I'm supposed to be a grown man, but in front of her, I feel like a little boy. He recalled the day she hauled him in and chewed him out. Stop running around all the time. You belong to me now, so I have every right to know where you are. Back then, he had tried to argue, I wasn't running around. Some things just came up at home. Ignoring his excuses, she had flatly ordered, no excuses. Go find Yang Manly and join the Bullseye team. At that, he had immediately grumbled. What? I still have to do that? What a pain. Of course, she didn't care whether he liked it or not and simply warned him. I'm heading to the Starry group. You'd better have this done before I get back. Hearing her mention them, he couldn't help but wonder, the Starry group? Isn't that Son of Heaven's family business? He secretly questioned. My dad's death is also connected to them. Why is Qin Xuan working with them? Qin Xuan didn't answer his question, only turning back to remind him, do you understand? My point is that you must join the Bullseye team. As long as you're under my wing, he won't dare lay a finger on you. Hearing this, all he could do was grin and say, Station Master Qin, you really are the best. Thank you. Back to the present, thinking about everything Qin Xuan had done for him, he smugly concluded that she was protecting him. Does she actually have a crush on me? Well, I do have a sacred blood beast soul, mastered a hyper-geno art, and my physical fitness rating is already at 9.1. Just then, the guide opened a door and gestured for him to enter, saying, We've arrived. The second he stepped inside, Han Sen greeted her, Hello, Station Master Qin told me to report to you. Seeing him, Yang Manly asked, So, you're Han Sen? She coldly remarked, You're 10 seconds late. A bit flustered, Han Sen quickly explained, It wasn't on purpose. Station Master Qin called me in and chewed me out just now. Young Manli frowned. Are you saying Qin Xuan is the reason you're late? Obviously, she wasn't buying his pathetic excuse. Arriving late and then shifting the blame onto someone else? The guy seriously deserved a good beating. She handed him a form. Fill this out. He didn't hesitate and replied, You got it. As he filled it out, he wondered to himself, What is up with this woman? It feels like she completely despises me, even though I don't even know her. Suddenly, Yang Manli said in a snarky, passive-aggressive tone, I wonder what kind of tricks you pulled to make her trust and favor you so much. However, instead of taking her words to heart, Han Sen's mind drifted to something he really shouldn't have been focusing on. Team leader, it's hard to fill this out with you sitting right there like that. But keeping those thoughts to himself, he quickly filled out the paper and handed it back. All done. She took it and immediately ordered him, 6 o'clock sharp tomorrow morning. Meet at the Bullseye training ground inside the shelter. And remember, I despise tardiness. As she spoke, her communicator suddenly buzzed. It was Qin Xuan, calling with an order. Come to my office right now, and bring Han Sen with you. A few moments later, they were both standing in Qin Xuan's office, staring at a video on the screen. With a serious look, Qin Xuan pointed at the screen and said to Yang Manli, Manli, take a look at this. This video has been causing an absolute uproar on the forums. The second Han Sen saw the video, his heart leaped into his throat. Wait, isn't that me at the physical fitness testing center? Who had nothing better to do than record my test? Damn it, my identity is going to be exposed. But thank goodness, luck was on his side, because Yang Manli still had no idea the guy in the video was him. Dollar, right? His attack power is insane. Did really no one catch a glimpse of his face? Of course, Qin Xuan was also clueless about his secret identity. No. The person who recorded it only captured the part where he cleared the robot passage test. Hearing that neither of them knew his true identity, he let out a silent sigh of relief. Oh man, that scared the crap out of me. Whew, thank goodness. At this point, Qin Xuan began to analyze what she saw in the video. From the video, we can see Dollar wearing a beast soul armor and practicing some high-level hyper-geno art. So she brought up another crucial piece of news, pointing out that the footage from the fitness center's lobby was actually shot right here on Roka Planet. We need to find a way to track him down. This guy could be a massive help to us. Hearing this, young Manli chimed in. She pointed out that Roka Planet doesn't have any famous families or powerful factions, so they probably couldn't produce someone like Dollar. Qin Xuan didn't seem to care much about that. She had only one goal, and she was going to try no matter what. If he joins us, then even if we clash with Son of Heaven in the future, as long as we team up with Fist Guy and his crew, we can still successfully hunt sacred blood creatures. Hearing this, Han Sen finally realized her true goal. I get it now. So that's what this is about. When Qin Xuan saved me from Luo Tianyang last time, she mentioned she was recruiting talents. She must be looking for someone even better. So he quickly put on an act and said, "But I heard he's a lone wolf. He probably won't join us." But Qin Xuan wasn't worried at all. She had a secret weapon for this, so there was nothing to worry about. "We have Sister Manli's charms." Young Manli replied smugly, "I don't care about that. I'm just worried he's not a real man." Those words from the two beauties made Han Sen pale, and his mind couldn't help but wander to some dirty thoughts. No way. These two women are seriously devious. Later, at Han Sen's home in the shelter, he was checking on the beast he had captured and locked up. Awesome. Just a little more, and this copper-toothed beast will evolve into a sacred blood creature. He was incredibly excited inside. Now, he just had to patiently wait a few more days. The next day, Han Sen went inside the Bullseye team's headquarters to look around. Among the crowd training, he accidentally spotted a familiar face. "Hey, isn't that Su Xiaoqiao?" So he went over to strike up a conversation. "Su Xiaoqiao, you're in the Bullseye team too?" Seeing Han Sen suddenly talking to him, he asked in surprise, "Ass freak, how do you know me?" Hearing that, Han Sen realized he had slipped up. He forgot that he usually did business with him under his alias, Dollar. So he quickly made up an excuse. "How could I not? Aren't you the first person who called him Brother Dollar?" Hearing this, Su Xiaoqiao laughed out loud with excitement. "Am I really that famous? If I hadn't called him that, Brother Dollar wouldn't be as famous as he is now, right?" After enough small talk, he asked Han Sen, "Brother, why did you join the Bullseye team? The training here is brutal." He didn't mind being honest and replied, "I don't know if it's hard, but I figured archery is long range, so I don't have to risk my neck." Su Xiaoqiao agreed, but didn't forget to warn him. "I thought so too, but we still have to be careful. That Yang Manli is a total sadist." Finding an ally, Han Sen chimed in, "I've met her before. She's really..." Before he could finish, Yang Manli's voice rang out, startling them both. "What do you think you two are doing?" She appeared with an overwhelming murderous aura, giving Han Sen a mini heart attack as he muttered her name in his head, while Su Xiaoqiao panicked, thinking, "Oh, we are so dead." A barrage of arrows violently slammed straight into the targets. Su Xiaoqiao gasped in shock. "What?" "Practice with a 7.0 bow, 1,000 arrows each." Yang Manli glared at them both and warned in a stern voice, "You aren't leaving until you are finished. If you dare to slack off, just wait and see how I deal with you." Her coldness made him pale with fear as he begged, "Oh my God, is she trying to kill me? My strength just reached 7.0. Captain Yang, we were wrong. Please forgive us." At this moment, Han Sen tried to reassure him, "Don't look so hopeless. She is not here anymore. We can just fake it. She won't know." But instead of easing his mind, Han Sen only made him panic more. "Brother, you are way too naive. That crazy virgin sent someone specifically to watch us. Stepping over the line doesn't count. Missing the target doesn't count. Not a single one of these 1,000 arrows can be missing." Hearing that, Han Sen chuckled. "Well, then we just have to shoot them. There is no time limit anyway." He then put his hand on his shoulder to encourage him. "Remember, stamina makes a good man." Han Sen himself had a lot of faith in Su Xiaoqiao. With his strength at 9.1, practicing with a 7.0 bow was honestly not a big deal. Su Xiaoqiao might not believe it, but if he pushed himself, he would get so much stronger. A while later, as the two of them were practicing, everyone else had already packed up to leave. They didn't miss the chance to tease them. "Xiaoqiao, ass freak, train hard. We are hunting a sacred blood creature tomorrow, and you two have no shot at joining." Su Xiaoqiao was puzzled and asked, "A sacred blood creature? How come I didn't know about this?" One of them replied smugly, Son of Heaven's crew found it and invited us to team up and take it down. Hearing this, Han Sen thought to himself, Son of Heaven? Maybe Qin Xuan negotiated with Xingyu about this. Suddenly, Liu Hongtao appeared out of nowhere and snapped, enough gossiping, keep training. As soon as he saw him, Su Xiaoqiao rushed over to beg him with some cash. Hey, Deputy Leader Liu, can you do me a favor and talk to Leader Yang? Ask her if I can tag along tomorrow. But of course, he coldly shut him down. What? Do you think this is some flea market? Stop trying to bargain with me. Then he turned his attention to Han Sen, to make things even harder for him. And as for you, don't think that just because you used Captain Qin's connections to get in here, you can just run wild in the Bullseye Group. Our Bullseye Group is no place for useless trash. Before turning on his heel and leaving, he left them both with a final warning. Leader Yang said, you have to shoot 1,000 arrows, not even one short. Don't even dream of going anywhere until you are completely done. Hearing his insulting words, Han Sen was starting to get pretty annoyed. Then, Su Xiaoqiao also turned back to his training, sighing, we really can't afford to slack off with how strict the rules are in this group. Su Xiaoqiao complained in frustration. Strict my ass. That Liu guy usually takes a ton of bribes from us. He is just putting on a show to act tough. Then, he leaned in to warn Han Sen. Hey bro, that guy definitely has a grudge against you. This warning left Han Sen a bit puzzled. A grudge against me? Why is that? Han Sen asked. Su Xiaoqiao lowered his voice, spilling some juicy gossip he had dug up. Word is, Liu Hongtao has a massive crush on Leader Yang, so he is always trying to kiss up to her. He probably knows she is annoyed with you, so he is deliberately giving you a hard time to score some points with her. Hearing this, Han Sen was completely speechless. Are you serious? He is targeting me just for that? What a psycho. Shaking his head, Han Sen stopped talking and grabbed his bow. As he took aim, he tried to reassure his friend. Su Xiaoqiao, I am sorry for dragging you into this mess, but don't you worry. He released the bowstring, and the moment the arrow pierced right through the bullseye, he made a confident promise. Tomorrow, we are definitely still going to hunt that sacred blood creature. Seeing the arrow nail the bullseye perfectly, Su Xiaoqiao gasped and yelled in shock. Holy crap, 150 meters and a perfect bullseye? You are insane. Meanwhile, Han Sen easily let loose his next shots, thinking to himself, this 7.0 practice bow is so much lighter than the Doomsday Soul. Shooting continuously isn't hard at all, especially once you get the hang of the mechanics. Just like that, he fired off a rapid barrage of arrows, and every single one hit the dead center of the targets. This display absolutely blew Su Xiaoqiao's mind. 40 arrows in a row with perfect accuracy? Dude, you are a straight-up monster. A few onlookers nearby caught sight of this and simply couldn't believe their own eyes. Holy crap, that hand speed is insane. He must have been single for 30 years to pull that off. Wait, is that the ass man? Am I seeing things? They quickly crowded around him, whispering in amazement. He's using his right hand the entire time, has not switched once, and his draw strength isn't even dropping. Yeah, he isn't slowing down at all. This guy must be using some kind of secret technique. Actually, he looks kind of familiar. But someone who couldn't stand seeing him succeed scoffed and muttered, please, there's nothing to get excited about. No matter how good he is, it's not like he's allowed to go anywhere tomorrow anyway. Ignoring the whispers, Han Sen nudged his friend. Su Xiaoqiao, stay focused. We need to speed this up and save some time. Hearing that, Su Xiaoqiao immediately got serious and pulled his bow, but he still couldn't help but say, hey man, if we actually manage to pull this off and go tomorrow, you are officially my hero. Han Sen let out a confident smirk and replied, just trust me on this. Secretly, Han Sen was running the numbers in his head. At this pace, we can easily wrap this up by midnight. Nothing is impossible, and there is no way I'm missing out on such a prime hunting opportunity. Meanwhile, up in the observation room, Yang Monli was keeping a close eye on the two of them. She watched them intently, thinking to herself, so this is Han Sen. He definitely has talent. It feels like Qin Xuan actually made the right call about him. Even so, she murmured coldly to herself. But whether you can actually cut it here is entirely up to you. By this time, the entire room was littered with arrows. While some were lodged deep inside the targets, countless others lay scattered all over the floor. Su Xiaoqiao collapsed onto his knees in sheer exhaustion, groaning in defeat. I can't believe we actually shot 2,000 arrows before sunrise. I know you did most of the heavy lifting, but both of my arms are totally dead right now. Han Sen looked over the massive pile of arrows on the table, massaging his sore shoulder, as he gave Su Xiaoqiao a quick reminder. Make sure you put some medicine on those arms tonight. We can't have you slacking off during tomorrow's hunt. Su Xiaoqiao jumped up in excitement, grabbing Han Sen by the shirt with a huge grin. Brother Sen, you are a beast. Seriously, if I were a girl, I would absolutely marry you on the spot. Han Sen looked at him with a completely blank face and muttered, Thank God you're not. Suddenly remembering something, Han Sen scratched his chin and asked, Oh, by the way, did you manage to dig up any info on what kind of sacred blood creature we're hunting tomorrow? What do we need to prepare? Su Xiaoqiao gave a smug grin, pointing a finger to the sky to reassure him. Don't sweat it, my friend. I did a little digging this morning. In this world, there is absolutely nothing that money can't buy. Recalling how he had secretly slipped a fat stack of cash to Yang Manli's assistant, Su Xiaoqiao whispered confidently. According to her assistant, our target tomorrow is a flying sacred blood creature. Han Sen's eyes widened slightly as he shot a glance at Su Xiaoqiao. A flying one? That's going to make it incredibly hard to bring down. Su Xiaoqiao put his hands on his hips and said confidently, Exactly. None of Son of Heaven's men are actually good at archery, which is why they desperately need our help. Han Sen rubbed his chin, knitting his brows in deep thought. This is going to be incredibly tough. A standard alloy arrow won't even scratch a beast like that. It looks like I'll have to buy a Z-steel arrow. Late that night, as the moon hung high in the sky, Han Sen was still sitting in his dark room, his face illuminated by the glow of his computer screen. Z-steel is a new kind of metal, far more durable and flexible than regular iron and steel. His fingers typed away on the keyboard as Han Sen thought to himself. Once Z-steel was added to an alloy, it would massively boost a weapon's durability, but the market price was just too high, and there was no way he could afford it with his remaining cash. He stared intently at the screen, lost in thought. Even the frame of his doomsday bow only contained 0.4%. The bowstring barely reached 0.5%, and for arrows, it would need to be at least double digits. A rectangular blue stone and an oddly shaped copper red stone popped up on his screen, making him gasp in surprise. The screen showed an arrow with a caption underneath. Z, steel content, 1.2%, price 300,000 yuan, non-negotiable. If you are interested, please contact 213300987. Han Sen cheered in excitement. This arrow was perfect, and the price was reasonable, definitely worth checking out. He headed down to the red light district alone, where the streets were incredibly noisy. Girls in sexy bikinis kept waving at him, but Han Sen kept his head down, pretending not to notice their advances. No wonder the seller sounded so sketchy on the phone, Han Sen thought. Turns out, he was based in a place like this. Recalling his phone call from earlier, Han Sen had asked, Hey, can you just have someone ship it to me? The voice on the other end had snapped, If you want to buy it, come get it yourself. I'll send you the address. In the distance, a mysterious figure in a hooded cloak waved at him from behind a doorway. Han Sen muttered, That must be him. The mysterious seller asked if he was the buyer, and Han Sen replied, Yeah, that's me. The seller opened a box, revealing a gleaming golden arrow. He said, I forged this by hand. You can test it out first. If you are satisfied, we can make the deal. Han Sen examined the golden arrow in his hands and thought, Nice center of gravity, good craftsmanship. He pulled out a dagger, looked at the seller, and asked, Mind if I give it a strike? Seeing Han Sen's blade, the seller smiled and said, A steel cutter series dagger? Go right ahead. Strike all you want. With the seller's nod, Han Sen swung down hard. The arrow didn't have a single scratch, but his dagger ended up with a huge chip. Han Sen stared at the arrow and gasped. My steel cutter actually chipped, yet this arrow doesn't even have a scratch. This arrow must have at least 0.7% Z-steel. Good stuff, I'll take it. The seller smirked proudly and boasted, it was forged from the bearing of a stellar-class battleship, standard Z-steel content of 1.2%. Plus, my craftsmanship is leagues ahead of any machine-made junk. Han Sen handed him the money and said, I was a bit skeptical at first, but now my mind is at ease. Thanks, boss. Slipping the money into his pocket, the seller said, Let me know if you need anything else next time. The following day, a massive, rowdy crowd gathered right outside the shelter's entrance. Spotting someone, Luo Tianyang said, Son of Heaven, look over there. That loser actually showed up. Hearing this, Son of Heaven glanced over and smirked. He thought, You actually had the guts to tag along with Qin Xuan? Let's see how I tear you apart today. Qin Xuan led the way, with Han Sen, Su Xiaoqiao, and Yang Manli following closely behind. Son of Heaven walked up to shake hands with Qin Xuan. He said, Qin Xuan, let's make sure we work well together this time and successfully bring down that sacred blood creature. Qin Xuan replied, of course. Bullseye won't let you down. Let's move. Luo Tianyang suddenly marched up to Han Sen, grabbed his arm, and sneered. Since when did Bullseye start recruiting human trash? Qin Xuan glared at him, her face filled with cold anger. Luo Tianyang, you must have a terrible memory. Didn't I already tell you that he's one of my men? Seeing Qin Xuan's irritation, Son of Heaven quickly held Luo Tianyang back. He said, Luo Tianyang, what do you think you're doing? Don't pick a fight with Qin Xuan. Luo Tianyang grunted. Son of Heaven? Fine. Despite Son of Heaven's warning, Luo Tianyang shot a contemptuous glare at Han Sen and spat. Just a pathetic leech hiding behind a woman. Han Sen heard every word, but he just kept quiet and didn't say a thing. Watching Luo Tianyang walk away, Su Xiaochao stepped up and muttered, Brother Sen, that guy is completely out of his mind. Han Sen cut him off, his face expressionless. He's just a barking dog, he said. No need to pay him any mind. Once both groups joined forces, they marched into a treacherous terrain of winding rivers and rugged mountains. Son of Heaven stood on a ledge, hands on his hips, and declared, We have arrived. This is the 40-very place. Qin Xuan surveyed the surroundings and said, I will send someone down to lure the sacred blood creature out here. Qin Xuan surveyed the surroundings and said, I will send someone down to lure the sacred blood creature out. All you guys need to do is stick to the plan. Son of Heaven looked at her and replied, No problem. Luo Tianyang stood behind him and signaled for something to be brought over. Crossing his arms, Son of Heaven said confidently, Captain Yang, here is a special gift I prepared for Bullseye. 100 Starlight Z-Steel arrows, each with a Z-Steel content of 1%. You can distribute them among your squad. Luo Tianyang showed off as he proudly popped the arrow case open. Son of Heaven pointed a finger straight at Han Sen and ordered coldly, except for him. Yang Manli stepped forward in frustration and demanded, Why doesn't Han Sen get any? He is also a member of Bullseye, after all. At her questioning, he sneered in response. Is that so? We are the ones providing the Starlight arrows, so shouldn't we be the ones deciding who gets them? Yang Manli heard him say that and had no choice but to accept his unreasonable demand. Oh, of course, since you are the leader of this operation, we will follow your lead. She ordered, Lu Hongtao, come over here and distribute these to the top 5 from the last test. Everyone take 20 arrows. As for the rest of you, don't feel bad. Our own arrows are just as good as the Starlight arrows. We don't need to use their stuff anyway. Yang Manli thought with a look of disdain. It seems Son of Heaven has his eyes set on Han Sen. No matter what happens, he won't even show me any respect. That bastard's expression is so disgusting, I just want to slap him to death. Luo Tianyang then called out to everyone, Don't just stand there, everyone. Move fast according to the plan, and prepare the ambush. With the elite members of the squad getting priority for positions, everyone looked at him and replied, Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Standing on a rocky ledge, Luo Tianyang looked at Han Sen and Su Xiaochao, commanding, What are you trash standing so close for? Back off. Su Xiaochao clenched his fists in anger and said, Hey, don't get cocky. Han Sen immediately patted Su Xiaochao's shoulder to calm him down. It's fine. It doesn't matter where we stand. Let's head over there. The two of them hid behind a boulder and some bushes. Su Xiaochao grumbled in anger. This is so infuriating. Who does he think he is? It's bad enough he didn't give us any Starlight air. Focusing his gaze ahead, Han Sen casually said in a flat tone, It's normal, ever since Son of Heaven started hating me. Hearing this, Su Xiaochao turned to him and asked, Brother Sen, aren't you mad? I'm absolutely furious. I want to beat that guy up. Han Sen replied with a determined tone, Of course I am, but don't let your emotions cloud your judgment. If we want to teach them a lesson, we just need to act. Otherwise, we'll just end up as their laughingstock. He continued, Just wait, maybe we'll get to kill the sacred blood creature ourselves. What if we get lucky and snag its beast soul? I'd love to see the look on his face then. He'll probably lose his mind. Su Xiaochao warned him anxiously. That's impossible. The people on the opposite cliff are all Son of Heaven's men. Once the sacred blood creature flies up, they'll rain Starlight arrows down on it. He sighed, twirling an arrow in his hand. We won't even get a chance to get close. Suddenly, a loud roar echoed from afar. Terrified, Su Xiaochao asked, What is that sound? That's terrifying. From behind the rocky ledges, a massive purple dragon soared into the air. Someone screamed in shock. Station Master Qin and the others successfully lured it out. Oh my god, it's the purple-winged dragon. Pointing at the purple-winged dragon, young Manly ordered loudly, "Everyone, shoot it down." Dozens of archers were scattered across the rocky ledges. Hearing the command, they drew their bows in unison, aiming at the purple-winged dragon and replying, "Roger that. Understood. Yes, ma'am." Hundreds of arrows flew from all directions toward the purple-winged dragon soaring high in the sky, as if they could easily take it down. However, it swept all the arrows away with its tail, and the ones that hit its body simply bounced off. Su Xiaoqiao gasped, "The Starlight arrows aren't working on it. Its scaled hide is harder than steel." Han Sen reached back to draw his own refined arrow. He remarked, "We just need to shoot its eyes. Those Starlight arrows are overrated anyway." Han Sen raised his bow, aiming at the purple-winged dragon. He thought, "This arrow has a Z-steel content of 1.2%. It'll break after one shot, so I have to bring it down in a single blow." Su Xiaoqiao heard him and gasped in shock. "It's useless." "Oh, no wonder Son of Heaven positioned so many people here. That monster is changing direction." Before he could even finish his sentence, Son of Heaven leapt up from a ledge. He drew his bow and shot toward the purple-winged dragon. He declared confidently, "Sacred blood creature, you are mine." His arrow flew toward the purple-winged dragon with unbelievable speed. It ripped through its wing with a flash of golden light, tearing it open. The purple-winged dragon let out a cry of agony. Watching this, Han Sen thought, "No, this isn't the right moment. Its defense hasn't been fully broken yet. Let's wait a little longer." The purple-winged dragon soared higher with one wing torn. Not wanting to be outdone, Yang Manli drew an arrow emitting a silver glow and muttered, "Son of Heaven, I won't let you steal this kill." She drew her bow and fired at the purple-winged dragon. Her arrow shot out like a rocket, tearing through its remaining wing. Everyone cheered. "Look, Son of Heaven and Yang Manli's beast soul arrows can be retrieved and used again." Riding atop a massive leopard, Son of Heaven ordered everyone. Both of its wings are injured. It can't fly much further. After it, everyone quickly mounted their beasts to give chase, shouting, "Yes, sir, cut it off, don't let it escape." On their end, Han Sen and Su Xiaoqiao quickly gave chase too. Han Sen thought, "I don't have a beast soul arrow, nor do I have a mount. They are going to catch up to it before us." Running alongside Han Sen, Su Xiaoqiao asked anxiously, "Brother Sen, what are we doing? How are we supposed to keep up with them on foot?" Just then, Qin Xuan called out to Han Sen. Han Sen looked back in surprise, thinking, "Qin Xuan? She is coming this way." Climbing up from the cliff, she reached out her hand to him and said, "Quick, grab my hand." Han Sen leaped up and reached his hand out to her. He thought, "Now is the time." Qin Xuan easily grabbed his hand and pulled him up with ease. Seeing this, Su Xiaoqiao yelled out, "Station Master Qin, me too." Han Sen wrapped his arms around Qin Xuan's waist and thought with a cheeky grin, "Wow, she is really slender. Her mount is pretty amazing too." Qin Xuan turned around to glare at him in disgust, warning, "Hey, don't touch me. The only reason I let you ride with me is because Manly said your archery skills aren't half bad, and you might actually be useful to us." Han Sen pouted and replied, "I get it, Station Master Qin." But deep down he thought, "Oh, come on. Are you sure you don't just like me?" "Yeah, right." The crowd standing below stared up at the high cliff, gossiping among themselves. "Man, that is incredibly high. How are we supposed to climb that? What should we do, unless we have a flying beast soul?" Qin Xuan and Han Sen walked over to Yang Manli. "Manli, what is going on?" Son of Heaven glared at Han Sen, thinking in frustration, "That bastard, how dare he ride on Qin Xuan's mount?" Yang Manli approached Qin Xuan and said, "Qin Xuan, you're just in time. That sacred blood creature has already flown over the mountain. Even with beast soul arrows, it's impossible to take it down. What should we do now?" Qin Xuan looked up, saying with determination, "We have to find a way to get over there and kill it, or at least lure it down. Even so, our chances of winning are slim." Son of Heaven gritted his teeth, clenching his fists in anger as he said, "Just send someone to climb up and lure it down. We will wait here and ambush it." The crowd looked up helplessly at the mountain, murmuring, "Who could possibly do that? This mountain is way too steep. One slip and you will plummet to your death before even reaching the peak. And even if you make it up there, that creature will tear you apart." Enraged, Son of Heaven demanded loudly, We have already made it this far. Are you guys really going to just give up? Who has the guts to step up? You will be handsomely rewarded afterward. That is fair, right? Hearing Son of Heaven's words, the crowd began to whisper. Son of Heaven has a point. That sounds pretty good. If we eat more beast souls, our geno points will shoot up. Exactly. Standing in the back, Han Sen watched everything unfold and thought, he is doing the exact same thing as when we hunted the black-crested snake. He only cares about sacrificing other people's lives to get what he wants. Qin Xuan rubbed her wrist and said, we need to carry out this plan quickly. Anyone who wants a bigger share of the rewards, follow me up there. Feeling anxious, Son of Heaven quickly stopped her. Qin Xuan, there is no need for you to go up there yourself. Just order someone else to go. Qin Xuan ignored his advice, continuing forward as she said, order who? I am not in the mood to wait around. Realizing he couldn't stop her, Son of Heaven shoved Han Sen's shoulder and ordered him, get moving and follow her, protect Qin Xuan. Glaring at him with murderous intent, he thought, you are going to die the moment you reach the top. Han Sen glanced back at him with confusion, thinking, what is this lunatic plotting now? Group by group, the crowd began to climb up using the vines. Qin Xuan climbed in the lead, with Han Sen following right behind. Above them, the purple-winged dragon flapped its wings frantically, kicking up a massive cloud of dust. It roared fiercely, threatening the people approaching, and savagely bit down on anyone trying to attack it. Far from being intimidated, the crowd seemed even more energized, charging at it with everything they had. Looking up at the massive purple-winged dragon in front of her, Qin Xuan yelled, everyone, find some cover quickly, and shoot down the purple-winged dragon. The fighters shouted to one another, hide quickly and get ready to shoot. But the purple-winged dragon easily whipped its tail, knocking them to the ground. Standing on a distant rock, Han Sen drew his bow and aimed. He thought, this creature is already severely injured from being bombarded by so many people. He pulled back the bowstring, ready to shoot, thinking, it will be dead soon. I just need to wait for the perfect moment to finish it off with my Z-steel arrow. Suddenly, Son of Heaven leaped up from behind, surrounded by a dark green aura. He activated his beast soul transformation, ambushing Han Sen from behind. As Han Sen let out a painful cry, Son of Heaven laughed triumphantly. I warned you. Today, you die here. Plummeting from the mountain peak, Han Sen desperately tried to hold onto the vine in his hand. Han Sen gripped the vine with both hands as his body slammed hard against the cliffside. Gritting his teeth, he grimaced and thought, ugh, that hurts so bad. Finally, he stopped sliding down. He let out a sigh of relief, thinking, thank goodness my physical fitness has improved. Otherwise, my bones would have been completely shattered. Son of Heaven is so incredibly despicable, using such a powerful mutant beast soul just to kill me. Climbing back up to the peak, Han Sen thought, you wanted me dead, but my luck is just too strong. The purple-winged dragon was cornered, with Qin Xuan on its left and Son of Heaven on its right. Hiding behind the rocks, the fighters whispered to each other, it's surrounded. Everyone, hurry up. Let's close the circle and trap it, don't let it escape. Han Sen wiped away his sweat and thought, Qin Xuan has even summoned her golden lion beast soul. Although my bloody slayer is extremely powerful, it is not suited for this terrain. With a determined look, he thought, I have to bide my time. Now is not the moment. With her massive golden lion beast soul, Qin Xuan lunged forward and bit hard into the leg of the purple-winged dragon, making it screech in agonizing pain. On the other side, Son of Heaven also unleashed all his strength, raining down heavy punches on its head. The purple-winged dragon thrashed violently, breaking free from both of their attacks. Qin Xuan immediately reverted to her original form, charging forward as she yelled, it's almost dead, attack. Son of Heaven also shifted back to his human form. Holding his sword high, he rushed in, shouting, fine by me. This beast is going to die by my blade. The two of them struck from the left and right, stabbing right into the purple-winged dragon's chest. But just when it seemed like an easy kill, the beast roared furiously, sending both of them flying. Slammed by the impact, Qin Xuan crashed hard into a nearby boulder. She grimaced, clenching her teeth to bear the intense pain. Hiding behind the grass, Han Sen watched in panic and cried out, Qin Xuan. The purple-winged dragon glared toward the opposite side, prompting someone to scream, damn it! This creature is too strong. It's trying to fly to the other cliff. Han Sen knew he couldn't let it escape, so he quickly ran after it. He realized that if it made it over there, nobody would stand a chance of killing it. Staring at the purple-winged dragon, determination filled his face. He pulled his golden bow and arrow from behind his back. Son of Heaven also summoned his own arrow, gritting his teeth in pure rage. No way in hell am I letting my prey escape. If you want to run, taste my arrow first. He shot a glowing green arrow, yelling in fury, "You damn oversized lizard, you're mine, die." Seeing the purple-winged dragon preparing to take off, Han Sen made his decision and immediately released his golden arrow. Even though he shot after Son of Heaven, his arrow flew much faster. Han Sen's golden arrow streaked like lightning toward the purple-winged dragon. With one fatal shot, Han Sen brought down the purple-winged dragon right before it could escape. But suddenly, Han Sen's eyes widened in utter shock. "Wait, what's this?" Everyone around them gasped in disbelief, whispering among themselves, "No way, did that ass freak actually kill it? The ass freak killed the purple-winged dragon? Unbelievable." Son of Heaven stared in shock, wondering, how? How did his arrow hit first? Clutching her injured shoulder, Qin Xuan looked at him with deep suspicion and murmured, "Han Sen, you." Furious, Son of Heaven rushed over and grabbed Han Sen by his collar, demanding, "How the hell did you get a mutant beast soul?" Faced with his aggressive questioning, Han Sen calmly replied, "I was just trying to get a beast soul too. But my luck is absolutely garbage." He smirked slightly and added, "I didn't get a single thing." Qin Xuan stared at Han Sen and asked, "Han Sen, did you get the beast soul? The beast soul belongs entirely to the one who lands the final blow. If you got it, name your price." Han Sen rubbed his bruised cheek, putting on an innocent face. "Honestly, I didn't get anything. If I had a chance to make a fortune like that, why would I pass it up? I panicked back there. I was terrified the purple-winged dragon would fly away, so I just shot. Otherwise, everyone's hard work would have gone to waste." Qin Xuan looked closely at him, frowning as she thought, "He seems to be telling the truth. Besides, getting a beast soul isn't that easy." Wearing a serious expression, she looked at Han Sen and warned him, "Whatever, forget about it. Just make sure you don't wander off alone for the next few weeks. Otherwise, Son of Heaven might end up killing you before you even realize it. And don't say, 'I didn't warn you.'" Hearing this, Han Sen cheerfully replied, "Got it, Station Master Qin." He secretly thought to himself, but what if Qin Xuan hadn't stopped him today? Recalling his confrontation with Son of Heaven, the guy had furiously struck him, snarling, "You damn piece of trash, you did that on purpose, didn't you? I'm going to cripple you today." As Han Sen held his throbbing cheek in pain, Qin Xuan rushed over, stepping right in front of him to block the blow. "Stop right there. Son of Heaven, if you lay a finger on my people, don't blame me for whatever happens next." Staring at Qin Xuan's back, which seemed to radiate safety, Han Sen thought, well, having her protection is definitely a major plus. Night fell over the glass buildings, surrounded by lush greenery. While taking a shower, Han Sen couldn't stop grinning. The purple-winged dragon, a flying beast soul. Staring at the shimmering purple aura in his hand, the system notification popped up. Successful hunt. Killed the purple-winged dragon and obtained its beast soul. Gaining this beast soul will easily help me get up to 10 sacred Geno points. Recalling the moment he released that arrow, he felt incredibly lucky that the shot bought him just enough time. Han Sen burst into a loud laugh in the shower. Hardly anyone in this entire steel armor shelter has a rare beast soul like this. I'm going to be filthy rich. After finishing his shower, Han Sen dried his hair with a towel, humming a cheerful tune as he walked out. Han Sen looked down and gasped, "Whoa, the copper-toothed beast." His copper-toothed beast had undergone a massive evolution. Grabbing the metal bars in front of him, he cheered in pure excitement. "Oh my god, a sacred blood creature. It actually evolved into a sacred blood creature. This is amazing. That black crystal really works wonders." He happily patted the copper-toothed beast on its head and said, 3 months. In just 3 months, the crystal can rear a sacred blood creature. Even Qin Xuan and Son of Heaven have spent several years and still haven't maxed out their sacred Geno points. With a thrilled look on his face, Han Sen muttered, "At this rate, it'll take me 5 years at most to enter the second god sanctuary." Clenching his knife tightly, a murderous glint flashed in his eyes as he resolved, "I'll butcher it, then head over to the plaza to buy a live, primitive creature and bring it back." Frowning with a serious expression, Han Sen drove his knife deep into the copper-toothed beast, already mapping out his plan to breed more sacred blood creatures.